সেকেন্ড আরে আমি তো এইটাতে গুগল মিটটা ঢুকিয়ে নিত
বন্ধ করে দাও স্ক্রিনটা বন্ধ করে দাও
এটা কেটে যাবে
স্টার্ট হয়ে যাবে স্যারের আরম্ভ হতে হয়ে যাবে দীপশা হ্যাঁ ম্যাম ইউ ক্যান স্টার্ট ওকে
ব্লক এটা কি বলছি কিছু হবে না
না মাইক্রোফোনটা অফ করে দাও
ঠিক আছে করুন আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে হচ্ছে না
Government of India, Ministry of Women and Child Development declared that this year, Rashtriya Poshan Ma 2021, the theme is converging towards a healthy walk through life. Now I am going to focus on our second week theme, Yoga and Ayush for Nutrition. Under the theme Yoga and Ayush for Nutrition, there are awareness campaign about Ayush practices for better nutrition, yoga sessions considering COVID guidelines, sessions on 5 minutes yoga protocol, Ayush for anemia and pregnancy, recipe competition, nutritious food for pregnant women. Our department is going to organize an interdepartmental competition on nutritious recipe for pregnant women. And the few best recipes selected will be published in our departmental newsletter. This is a yoga practice, breathing and pranayama. We practiced this in our departmental music therapy online class during COVID-19 pandemic. This breathing and pranayama has several benefits like decreases stress and anxiety, increases the oxygen saturation in body. Now I am focusing on Ayush, means Ayurveda, yoga and naturopathy, unani, shiddha and homeopathy. Ayurveda, Ayu means life, Veda means science or knowledge. The traditional Hindu system of medicine, which is based on the idea of balance in bodily systems and uses diet, herbal treatment and yogic breathing. This healthy lifestyle system have been used in India for more than 5,000 years. Here is a Ayurvedic clock. One can follow this Ayurvedic clock. Moreover, one can follow daily routine, seasonal regimens, including basic sanitation and healthy living environment. You can give yourself a self-oiling message. From an Ayurvedic perspective, scraping the tongue should be a part of a daily routine. Dry brush before showering, infuse aroma to the ambience. One can incorporate various spices and herbs in their daily life like ginger, which has a long history of being used to treat digestive problems. Turmeric is being held as the newest superfood because to its high antioxidant content and anti-inflammatory properties. Garlic is healthy, very supportive of the immune system and good for detoxification. Cumin is a carminative, stimulant, antifungal and antibacterial spice. Black pepper is antimicrobial, enhances digestive health and has been used to treat respiratory problems. The next is yoga. The term yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, means to join or to unite. It is a Hindu spiritual and aesthetic discipline, a part of which including breath control, simple meditation and the adoption of specific bodily postures is widely practiced for health and relaxation. Yoga focuses on bringing harmony between mind and body. Here are 10 yoga poses you should do every day. You can look for places to put poses, get into a rhythm, but don't turn into a dictator. Holding poses increases strength. Yoga asana improve posture. Practice mindfulness. Get out in nature. Do a quick sequence when you wake up or right before bed. You can follow these guidelines only under the guidelines of a professionals. Next is naturopathy. a system of alternative medicine based on the theory that diseases can be successfully treated or prevented without the use of drugs by techniques such as control of diet, exercise, and massage. Under naturopathy, there is fasting therapy, which is an act of willingly abstaining from some food or drink for a small period of time. Under naturopathy, there is also mud therapy. The mud should be taken from 3 to 4 feet deep from the surface of the ground. Its black color absorbs all the colors of the sun and conveys them to the body. Mud retains moisture for a long time. When applied over the body part, it causes cooling. Its shapes and consistency can be changed easily by adding water. It is cheap and easily available. Under naturopathy, there is also hydrotherapy. It is the treatment of disorders using different forms of water. It is the most flexible medium for producing the thermic and mechanical effects desired and can be applied to a limited area or to the whole body surface. These are a traditional method of naturopathy. Unani. It is the science in which we learn various states of body in health and when not in health, and the means by which health is likely to be lost and when lost is likely to be restored. This was originated in ancient Greece but is now practiced primarily in India, involving the use of herbal medicines, dietary practices, and alternative therapies. Unani medicine addresses the prevention and treatment of diseases. There are few principles like achieving a balance of the physiological fluids known as the four humors is crucial to health according to practitioners of Unani medicine. Unani medicine is partly based on the principle that environmental conditions, including the quality of water and air, can significantly impact health. For example, Khamira Abrasam Hakim Arsad comprises the following botanicals: citron, saffron, cardamom, Indian bay leaf. This is a tonic that is supposed to improve heart health and aid in treatment of cardiovascular issues such as high blood pressure and angina. Next is shiddha. It has an origin in Tamil Nadu. The word means an object to be attained or perfection or heavily blessed. India, being the birthplace of many traditional philosophies, also gave birth to siddha. Under the Siddha system, pulse reading is there. Pulse reading in Siddha system refers to the detection of the abnormalities in Mukutram by feeling the pulse of the patient by a method prescribed in the Siddha text. Varmam is a branch of Siddha system of medicine which involves a special kind of therapy based on vital points called Varma points present in the body. And next is homeopathy. It is derived from two Greek words. Homeos means similar and pathos means suffering. This means in homeopathy, natural diseases are treated with substances that produce effects similar to the suffering. Yes,
Diksha,
ma'am.
our speaker is there. Please conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I am concluding. And in this way, homeopathy claims to stimulate healing responses to disease by administering substances. And here are some 10 minutes yoga protocols you can follow, or 20 minutes. And for more information, you can visit these websites. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vipsha. Thank you for the nice presentation. So, should I start, ma'am? Is sir present?
Yes, please introduce sir and welcome him.
Yes, so we now sorry for the interruption. So now we will move on to the first lecture of today's event. We are fortunate enough to have with us Professor Anjan Kumar Dasgupta, former head and professor, Department of Biochemistry, University of Calcutta. He is an eminent scientist with a vast research experience in the field of biophysics, nanotechnology, and quantum biology. He obtained master's degree in physics from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, followed by a PhD in biophysics from the University of Calcutta. He has more than 120 high-impact research publications and more than 30 years of research and teaching experience, during which he has worked on a number of innovative projects related to computational and medical biophysics. He has engaged in organizing the first ever international seminar on nanobio interface. He was instrumental in creating the Nano Center in the University of Calcutta. He has 12 international patents and 1 Indian patent, and he has supervised 20 PhD students and has been principal investigator in several projects sponsored by DST, DBT, ICMR, and so on. The title of his today's lecture is Nanoscale, a blast from the past and a dive to the future scale and scaling of nanomaterials. Welcome, sir. The platform is all yours.
Yes, sir is coming. Just 1 minute.
Just wait for Sir, Shomam. Sir will rejoin.
Okay, so I will introduce him once again.
No, not.
No, not required. Just welcome him. Just.
Okay, okay.
Sir has joined. Shomam,
Okay.
sir.
Sir.
Welcome, sir. Yes, ma'am.
It's my great pleasure to invite Professor Dasgupta to make us enlighten into the miniature world of nanomaterials. Sir, the stage is yours. Sir is there.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
I'm going to the presentation mode. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Entire screen.
So, is it visible?
Yes.
Can you see?
Fine.
So,
Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay. So, should I start?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, it is a pleasure to. I mean, it's since it is organized by Calcutta University, I feel like kind of homecoming because I belong to this university. I belong to this university and served this university for a long time. So it is basically when Purbali told me that to give a talk, I thought this is something where I can definitely have at least I can present something which our group in our lab did some interesting works. So I'll do two things. One is I'll just talk in general terms about the nanoscales, its challenges, and finally, in last few slides, will be based on what we did in our lab and how what kind of work, small work, with a constrained infrastructure, what we could do. That will present at the last. So I'll just give the comparison of hitchhiking because hitchhiking is a term which you all know that it is basically you just go randomly, move randomly, and then you just stop for a particular traffic and then get a ride. And we know that hitchhiking is also true for our scientific endeavors because in a place like our university, where you have lots of infrastructural constraints, you have to do a little bit of hitchhiking because you have to get hold of something, someone, some facility, and then we have to get things done. In fact, it is there in our gene because genetic hitchhiking is also there. So it's something like in case of nanomaterial, our hitchhiking was it's a cartoon which says you are trying to have a hitchhike to a UFO. So an UFO, someone is, because we really don't know what it is and we are trying to get there. So when we started nanomaterials and nano work, it was something like requesting a UFO for a ride. So normally everyone knows this, that what originated the nano technology. It was a 59 lecture by Feynman. But I think I just wanted to repeat that he failed in bio, that is, his postdoctoral research in biology was not so good. And he became angry and he said, unless we go for visualization of the small scale, we can never do good biological research. And in fact, because of his emphasis on this particular aspect, nanotechnology has evolved, and this inherent shortcoming was overcome, and we have all the beautiful microscopies nowadays. And the initial encouragement came from Feynman himself, who said that there is plenty of room at the bottom. The bottom has to be seen. So, and obviously, now I'll just give an analogy. The nano gold rush. This nano gold rush is something like the gold rush in America, when everyone wanted to have a kind of go for the gold mine. So when initially the nanoparticle came, there was a nano gold rush. Everyone jumped into nano. And the phrase nano used to mesmerize journal editors. 70,000 papers were there in 2015 alone. The steep rise of the interest in nanotechnology coincided with the bubble burst in the .com sector. You all know about the bursting of the bubble in the .com. So everyone was apprehensive, and that actually happened to some extent, that when there was a rise, there was a fall also. So what happens to the post-bubble scenario? That is the question. Now the thing is, the dot came back. The .com, there was a bubble burst, true, but the .com came back with something called big data, then came back with quantum computation. So it didn't vanish. Everyone thought that it will vanish. It did not. It came back with big data boom. Similarly, nano bubble has also not vanished. The only thing is that it has come in cryptic way in different subjects. It has become the playground for the material scientists who use nanotechnology as their cover fare. The empirical approach taken by nanoscientists may have caused certain loss in momentum in the interest of the subject. But actually, if I quote from the newspapers, the alarming decrease in investment in the nanotech is best described in the Times article, Why Nobody is Talking About Nanotech Anymore. You can see this. I have given the reference here. The author in this article quotes Steve Juverston, who in the year 2005 proclaimed that nanotechnology is the next great technology wave. But then what happened was, there was a fall. In the sharp contrast, at the present, nobody in the stock market is enthusiastic about standalone nanotechnology, but it is showing its cryptic presence in various forms like new drug sensor, biomedical devices, and agro-based industries. Now, there is a social psychology of the attractiveness of a technology. When a technology comes, it becomes very attractive. And sometimes it also happens that it becomes not so much interesting to a lot of people. So this hype and this sudden diminution of this hype is also something which is a very interesting part. Why a technology becomes attractive at a certain moment and not so attractive at some certain other moments. That's something which one should give a thought. Now, 2005 versus 2021. Back in 2005, there was a gold rush, as I said. Investment mania for nanotech stocks prevailed. Venture capitalists scrambling for investment, startups with nano. in 2021, nobody in the stock market gets excited about the phrase nanotech, but conducted on a molecular scale, measuring less than 100 nanometers, is yielding applications and products in number of industries. It's a big comeback with disguised terminological jargons like soft matter, smart material. So it may not be called nanomaterial, nanoparticles, but it is called by different names. Now I just show something called a Google trend. Okay, so this Google trend shows how the interest in nanomaterials changes with time, and you can see here the highest peak is for the graphene carbon nanomaterial that has even now very large number of hits compared to the gold, iron, MOS2, silver nanoparticles. They all. If I just show this one only, then it will be slightly better. But comparatively, graphene is having the highest number of hits. So I hope I hope I am audible. Can you just
Yes, yes, audible and visible.
Okay. So now I just want to recall something from history. I am very happy to inform you that 2006 in Calcutta University, on behalf of Calcutta University, we conducted the first ever nanobio seminar. Okay, and it was not only first in India, it was first in the world, because before this 2006 seminar, there was no nanobio interface seminar. There was nanoparticle, but nanobio. So we had that way. We are very lucky, and it came in the news items in Japan. This ATIP scope, and this is the it was conducted in the Shah Institute conference hall, and it was international, and it's all the participants. Majority of them are here. And after only this seminar, the Nano Center proposal came, and the international conference and Nano Center proposals were almost simultaneous. And Abdul Kalam gave us about 100 crores. And I was fortunate to be one of the persons who took the major initiative to have this center. But like the center's condition may not be that good, but the center came up in a very difficult time. So just to recall a very historical event for our university, that we conducted a seminar which first in the world actually. Now, what are the challenges in nanotechnology, future challenges? The main challenges in nanotechnology are the following. One is existential. Will the technology, sorry for this spello, merge with the other sister disciplines, or it will retain an independent existence? How technology can merge with other trending disciplines like chip development or big data? How nanoscience can contribute to the emerging disciplines of quantum biology and quantum computation? It is, however, important for us to realize that we will never have a technology that is sub-nano, but would retain the identity of molecules constituting a given material. Below nanoscales, the atoms are no more atoms, and the science therein belongs to a different world of physics. So here I just mention a few unexplored areas in which future researches can be made in nano world. One is nano aerosol, and persons who are interested in food and nutrition, this nano aerosol may be very interesting, because I had a small collaboration in the Department of Botany. There was a scholar called Pia who did a very interesting work. She found that if we can purify aerosol by nanomaterials, even without contact, we can save the degradation of many food. In fact, she proved that, and we have a patent on that also, that how silver biomass can protect the degradation of fruits, for example. This will be very interesting because even without freezers and all that, you can have storage of materials, nutritional things. Then secondly, nanotechnology can be used in pulp and paper industry. And then you can use it for medical textiles, nanofiber-based smart dressings. Then you can have printed papers using nanomaterials, which just you can have like a printer. You can have a circuit based on nano ink, and you can print like using graphene, gold, and all that. So you can have a nano design using all these things. So you can use nanomaterials for developing effective sanitations, important for post-COVID step. A deeper understanding of biomaterials and nanomaterials interaction would enable us to fabricate smarter sensors. So these are. Now I just diverting a bit. I'm just quoting Gunther Stent, a famous virologist. In the 1969, Gunther said was bored with molecular biology. You know why? He thought everything is discovered. There's nothing more to discover. So everything, people will waste time if they go do research in molecular biology. Ironically, just after that, restriction enzymes were discovered. In fact, after that, gradually all those things, PCR came, many important discoveries came. So if someone thinks that this is over, the game may not be over. There may be some new discoveries which is coming. Nanotech is perhaps waiting for such a second generation revolution. Just to recap, Max Planck, the discoverer of the particle nature of light, that it is made of photons, had a similar experience when he joined physics lab at 16. He was told by his Professor Joly that one needs in physics is filling up few holes. This is all known. So Planck was told that you need not come to physics because everything is known. And the Max Planck, who discovered, who is the grandfather of quantum mechanics. So just this is just to say that people who think that nano has no future, they should take lesson from the history and wait for that kind of discovery which will revolutionize nanomaterials. And I just give a link here. Those who are interested can, because I'll share this PDF file with the organizers, Wally, and so you can see this.
Thank you, sir.
So the Boolean story. Then they calculated the number of nanoparticles. This is another approach. This is a Boolean approach. Boolean means 1, 0, a logical approach. So nanomaterials can also be used for creating Boolean logic operators. Basically, nanomaterials are having 1, 0. For example, you are keeping some nanomaterial on the food. It is telling you automatically, okay, the food is okay or not, or whether some toxic material is there or not. This kind of logical operations, the nanomaterial itself is able to do. You don't have to keep a separate entity called as a chip or computer or some Apple Watch for that. The material itself will give a signal. That signal eventually can go to a device like a mobile or something like that. Then they tested reset function of the system for the reusability by dehybridizing all DNA assemblies after exchanging the buffer solution. The reset allows highlighted DNA alone. So it is basically DNA-based nanotechnology, this one. Then you can have what is called nano AI. Nano AI basically means the artificial intelligence used by nanomaterials. So you can say here, you have something called initial nano memory, and then you have a hidden layer of nano floaters, and then you have a output layer of nano reporters. So using this kind of layering, you can have what is called nano-based learning circuits, which is the basis of artificial intelligence. Now I'll go back to basics, because basics are more important sometimes. I just diverted a bit, not diverted, I just discussed, I had a bird's eye view over all the future challenges, what can be done, what are the unexplored areas. Now let us go over the basics. Nanoscience, nanotechnology. Nanoscience is the study of structures and materials of ultra small scale, and nanotechnology has the potential to revolutionize a diverse range of fields from healthcare to manufacturing, agriculture to environment, textile to sensing. So it covers any technology based on nanomaterials. The science and technology, they are, of course, they are not decoupled, but this is the two. Like in bioinformatics, you know that nowadays you can go to the PDB databases, protein databases, DNA databases. In nanomaterial also there is a database. It's called PUF Venus, and the other is Canon OLAB. Is NIH based. So these two, again, if you go to these two, I can, if you want, I can just have a quick look of, I think I need not go to the site, you can yourself go, and you can have a look at these sites and see, they're very informative. You just look for any protocol of preparing nanomaterial, availability of nanomaterial, the number of materials available. You can just, there may be other sites also which I missed, but these are very two important sites. So this is how the site looks. Public virtual nanostructure simulation is called PUF Venus. Now I just again come back to the question, why we don't talk about picoparticles? You say that nanotechnology is very good, but picometer is even lesser than nanometer. Why you don't have picoparticles? Any book on nanoparticle will start with the concept of scale. How many angstroms will make a nanometer? How many nanometer will make a micron? How many micron will make a millimeter, and so on. Why don't we talk about pico or femtoparticles? So why we talk about nanoparticles? Moment one goes below 0.05 nanometer, the identity of atom is lost. The problem is this: if you go below this, we will be dealing with subatomic world, which has its own laws. That is, atom will not remain atom. So the hydrogen atom has a size of 53 picometers. So basically, you can say that 1 nanometer is basically 20 hydrogen atoms. If you go to picometers and all those things, okay, you will not see the atomic world anymore. It will be some subnuclear world. So no identity. In nanomaterial, the beauty is it retains the atomicity or molecular nature, but then also it has many properties which are not found in the bulk. So that is the beauty of nano size. You are not forcing someone to convert to another thing. So, okay. So, but you can be totally different from the rest of the bulk materials, but at the same time you are not converted to the subatomic particles. So, even without conversion, you can be different. Just surface to volume ratio, I'm just giving. This is one parameter which is very important for the nanomaterials. You can see this is soccer ball, this is COVID-19. Okay, this is the size. Okay, and this is soccer is 0.66 meter, and this is 10 to the power minus 5 meter. Surface to volume ratio 4.5. This is 3 into 10 to the power 5. So you can see here the difference is much higher. Surface becomes higher when you go to the smaller objects. Now I'll just bring your attention to a very interesting thing. You can have evolved, biologically evolved nanoforms, and also you can have synthetic nanoforms. Okay. For example, HIV virus is a nanoform, almost a nanoform, 100, slightly more than 100. COVID is actually 100 nanometer. I just forgot to write the size. These are all expressed in nanometers here. So these are all nanometers. Now, when I say sing means synthetic. and evo means evolved. So HIV and this Pandora, these are evolved. Okay. One very interesting thing you can see in all the synthetic materials, you can see these are the three synthetic. Okay. I have yellow mark. You can see there is a range of size. It can vary from 5 nanometers to 100 nanometers. Silver nanoparticles 10 to 100. Iron nanoparticles from 5 to 80. But you see COVID 100 nanometers fixed. HIV 150. Pandora somehow can vary 500 to 1000, but probably it's a dimeric form, looks like. I'm not 100% sure. But normally what happens is, in any evolutionary nanoform, size is fixed. In synthetic nanoforms, when you synthesize by the wet route, you always have a range of values. Exactly like your polymer and DNA. DNA will have a fixed size. If you look at this stem, you can see the DNA, but you ask the polymer chemists, if you have a polymer, they will have a distribution of the size. So this part of the evolution is that somehow evolution has learned the tricks of having a fixed size. Whatever biological material we see have exactly fixed size. But you try to synthesize that, there will be some variability in the size. So similarly, that is true for nanomaterials. Synthetic nanomaterials will never occur exactly. If someone says, I have exactly a 30 nanometer nanoparticle, probably he's bluffing. You cannot have. You can have a distribution peaking around that value. Now, I just give you, all of you are, because probably many of you, I am not sure about all of you, you are used to this BMI index and all those things. They're all allometric scales. That is our body weight and some other parameters, oxygen uptake parameters. Similarly, in nanomaterials, you have allometric relations. For example, in this case, what we have plotted is, if you x-axis is the size, okay, this is the size, and here it is the plasmon. Y-axis is the plasmon. So you can have size plotted against plasmon. The plot will be like this. And if you feed them, you get a beautiful quadratic equation. There is surface plasmon resonance. That is the absorbance you observe is equal to this plus into diameter square. So there is a beautiful relation between the absorbance you see and the diameter value of this plasmon. Now, I'll come to nanomedicine. What is nanomedicine? Nanomedicine is often loosely spoken. It's a nanoparticle tagged with a potential drug. But just one small bit, I'm just telling you, I'm not writing it, that nanomaterial itself can have some drug-like effect in some cases that I'll talk about. In nanoparticle one has a list of the dimension, and 10 to 100 nanometers, that everyone knows. Nanoparticles have physical, chemical properties appreciably different from the bulk material. That is also known. Now, how do we classify nanomaterials? Nanomaterials are classified by the number of dimensions of the material which are outside the nanoscale. Okay, what does it mean? For example, we have, let us see, zero-dimensional nanoparticle. What does it mean, zero-dimensional? Zero-dimensional nanoparticle means that they are very tiny 3D materials. Okay, there is all the dimensions are in the nanoscale, and typically quantum dots are very good example of zero-dimensional nanomaterials. They are quantum dots. I don't know whether they are coming up in a very big way as sensors or different things, because they are also very highly fluorescent. And then you have 1D. 1D is in one-dimensional nanomaterials. One-dimensional is outside nanoscale. Nanofibers, nanorods, nanotubes, nanoware, quantum ware, they are all 1D nanomaterials. Then 2D. In two-dimensional nanomaterials, two-dimensional are outside nanoscales, like borofine, graphene, nanocoatings. They are all 2D nanomaterials. They have their own use. But 3D is a misnomer because 3D nanomaterial has no meaning actually. It means that by following the definition of 0D, 1D, 2D, so these actually this actually has no meaning. This is meaningless. Okay. Why it is meaningless? Because you can, if you have 3D materials, they are not confined to nanoscale in any dimension. So they are not nanomaterial at all. So it's a logical fallacy. So 3D material. So for your revision, 0D, 1D, 2D are. Now you may ask, suppose I have a nanoparticle like gold nanoparticle. Is it 0D, 1D or 2D? Now gold nanoparticle and many nanoparticles can occur in many forms. It may occur in, even in gold clusters can occur as quantum dots. It can occur in 1D, it can occur in 2D. So these are structural way of expressing nanomaterials. But a given material can have all these forms, but you should never use 3D nanomaterial. It is meaningless. Now, for those who are not interested in the mathematical concept of quantum mechanics, they can omit this. But I'm telling you, quantum mechanics is one of the subjects which are very, very interesting because it is directly, it doesn't follow intuitively. Many things are there. So one of the things which is very important in nanomaterials is there are a lot of quantum mechanics in action. So you can see here a quantum dot. There is something called a particle in a box. The particle in a box is idealized quantum mechanical machine. Okay. This particle in a box is a very important concept in quantum mechanics. And it basically means that suppose a particle is confined to a box, and this particular symbol means suppose potential is V, and there will be a 0, there will be X, which is always less than 0, and L. That is, it is confined to 0 to an L. And beyond the boundary, V will be 0. So within the boundary, it will be finite. So in these, if you don't like mathematics, forget it. These are all quantum mechanical operators. This is momentum, energy, and this is a famous energy equation that kinetic energy plus potential energy is equal to total energy. And the Schrodinger equation, the famous Schrodinger equation, is basically a reflection of this equation. And you can see here that this is a Schrodinger equation. Why I'm talking about this? I'm talking about this because if you solve this equation, you get a spatial variable and temporal. You are decomposing space and time. And you have what is called solution like this. Now, there's a boundary condition, which I told you, that gives rise to the quantization. All this energy, quantized energy of the quantum mechanics comes from the boundary condition of the wall. Now, so you have applying the boundary condition. I'm skipping because I'm sure that audience is not mathematical, but I'm just still showing it because this is a very important concept, this, that energy quantization, that energy is discrete, not continuous. This comes from a simple concept like this. You can see this equation 18. This is showing that n is an integer and energy will be of the order of multiples of n square. Now, coming to quantum dot, we can idealize quantum dot as a particle in a box. But here, you have two kinds of particle. In a semiconducting, a quantum dot is a semiconducting material. So you have what is called electrons, which is negatively charged, and holes, which is positively charged. Basically, holes are nothing but defects in the semiconducting material. And there is something called Bruce equation, which implies the following relation between the quantum dot and the band gap energy of a semiconductor. So I'm not going to detail, but here is the equation. This equation is very important. So this is the Bruce equation, and it tells you that there is a relation between EQD, that is quantum dot energy, between the band gap EG, and this is the confinement. This part is the confinement energy, this part. So you have relation like, so this part is the band gap energy. And this is the, this is the band gap, this is the confinement energy, and this is the overall band gap of the quantum dot. Now, equation 19, this R is the quantum dot, and basically these asterisk signs are effective electron mass and effective mass of the hole. And if you do that, I'll not go to this, but this band structure will tell you that how the effective mass is defined. So I have here a simple R code which will tell you how to determine this for a particular quantum dot, CDS dot. And you can see here that if we know, what you would have to do is you take the quantum dot in a fluorimeter and find out the wavelength at which it emits light. Okay, if you know that, for example, in this particular case, this emission maxima is somewhere here. This is the emission maxima. So if you know, this is by 520 nanometer. So if you know the emission energy, all these things are known. This velocity of light, Planck's constant, all these are known. You can find out the radius of the quantum dot. So in this case, if we know, I'm just skipping the little calculation, but what I'm showing is for a quantum dot like CDS, which is having kind of emission at 524 nanometer, you have a radius around, this is CDS-T quantum dot, tellurium. So this has a, so all you have to do is, you have to find out the emission maxima to do the, although this is not a very accurate equation, but this gives you an idea. So we started with the most difficult and quantum mechanical object called quantum dots. Let us go to the simpler nanoparticles. One of them is, all of you probably know about gold nanoparticles. Michael Faraday prepared gold nano colloid long back, and I am giving this thing. It is still preserved. Hundreds of years back, it is prepared. It is still. This is the image from that. Okay, this is the oldest gold nanoparticle. And you know about the history that gold nanoparticles, although they didn't know it is gold nanoparticle, it was known by the people who use it in drug. For example, in Ayurveda, there is something called Sharnavasya. They use a reducing agent mercury, and the old lady used to take it for some reason. They believe that the gold has some kind of immuno function. And then this kind of gold nanoparticles are used by the old, Western world for the decoration of their church windows. And most uses of gold nanoparticles are made by the Incas. In fact, they used to have a lot of small things made of gold nanoparticles. And now, is the red color of gold nanoparticle and the color of the quantum dots are the same? No. Quantum dot actually is a fluorescent agent. Normally, they also have sometimes color, but mostly they are famous for their fluorescence. But nanoparticles, like gold nanoparticles, they are not famous for their fluorescence, but they show a very strong absorption. And their absorption is called plasmonic extinction coefficient. And this extinction coefficient is expressed like this. And you can see here, the extinction coefficient becomes maximum when this becomes 0, and problem is that is this becomes minus 2 em, but then it becomes independent of R. If this is 0, then extinction coefficient becomes independent of R, but that is not true. So this formula had to change, and people use what is called Drude's equation to find out the actual what is called damping factor, to find out the R-dependent extinction coefficient. And there is a particle in a box approach in extinction coefficient also. For example, one can explain the rod-like and spherical nanoparticles using this kind of approximations, particle in a box type. That's why rod-like has different type of extinction pattern compared to spherical. All of you may know that rod-like nanoparticles are useful for what is called heating. Suppose you want to heat something, you add a small laser, then a spherical nanoparticle will not be heated, but a rod-like will absorb and will be hot. So in some therapy, they have tried to use rod-like nanoparticles. So this particular extinction behavior is called Mie resonance, and these are some computer simulations of the Mie scattering. This is not the quantum dot stuff. It is simple nanomaterial, and it's a simulated graph of nanomaterials. And you can see here how the scattering and absorptions are different. Now, a note for the utility of the plasmonic nanoforms. When the size of the nanoparticle is reduced from 100 to 30 nanometers, scattering intensity is lowered relative to the absorbance. The intensity of both scattering and absorbance lowers. With higher wavelength, scattering is redshifted to a significant extent and absorbance slightly blue shifted. Simple observation, but this can be used for many things. For example, if you make a nanomaterial and add that to some agent like say a bacteria, what will happen? There will be a color shift from red to say blue. That means nanoparticle is aggregated. So this aggregation of nanoparticles and its consequent shift of color can be used for many things. And so sensing lies in the eye of detector. Why there is a difference between the absorbance and fluorescence detection system? Those who have tried to measure plasmonic resonance using different detection systems will realize that we often get significant variations in the plasmonic frequency when we use a spectrophotometer as compared to a fluorimeter. The designs of nanosensors may be enriched if these basics of nanosciences are clearer to us. So now I will go to some of the applications. See, one of the applications was done by one of my very old students. Is called Jaideep, and he used this for. He was working in medical college, and they had supplied many hemoglobin variants, conformational variants. For example, KDR of thalassemia, beta measure, and all those things. What we did was we applied nanoparticles to all of this, and you can see. These are the different colors you can see here. And using the different colors, you can actually see that different type of hemoglobin variants, they show different type of what is called unfolding pattern. What happened was, if you unfold them, their colors will be different. So he also used, I did not show it here, another type of nanoparticle called Hopper nanoparticles for finding out this. Another contemporary of Jaideep, Ranjita, he used nanomaterials, gold nanomaterials, to find out the age products. Persons who are from the nutrition may be interested in this. Age products means the advanced glycosilic end products. This is one of the most dangerous thing in protein sugar, found in protein sugar adapts, in brown proteins, for example. And for diabetic patients, the HbA1c, in fact, is directly related to age products. Now, we use gold nanoparticles to detect age. And you can see there is a shift from red to blue. Okay, when there is a higher propensity of I'm just making it so that everyone can see it better, but this is going to be dangerous. Sorry for this, because I wanted to show it slightly better. But this color change is something I want to show. Because glycation is, this is a gyrus, or this is Sanjitas. Yeah. I think you can see it better. With using protein templates with different degrees of glycation. Glycation is a kind of non-enzymatic reaction between protein and glucose. If you just have any food stuff, you incubate it with glucose, there will be glycation artificially. And for diabetic patients, their blood is automatically glycated. So you can do it both in vitro and in vivo experiments on glycation. And you can also look into anti-glycation agent. Any agent which will prevent this process will be very useful for diabetes, by the way. So you can see here the clear difference of the color when there is a higher propensity of age. So I'll take a bit of time again. Sorry for this. The moment I am changing the size, it is taking time. Now, all of you have heard about the chaperones. You know, the chaperone is a very interesting material. So chaperone, this work was done by one student called Shanti Sharup Sinha. He is presently a scientist in NII, National Institute of Immunology. And you can see here that gold nanoparticles are used for helping the protein to fold. Chaperone means any agent which maintains the protein shape. Gold nanomaterials can be useful for maintaining the protein shape. So he showed it using citrate synthase, and he showed that the normal folding of the things is largely accentuated in presence of gold nanomaterials. This is one of my very enterprising student called Hirak. He showed something which is a paper which is cited many times, 400 times almost. This paper is basically it was one of the earliest paper of effect of gold nanoparticles on cancer cells. And what it showed very interestingly is that the gold nanoparticle acts to the cancer cells in a cell-specific way. So different cells will show different patterns. So these are the two slides from him. And he developed a new technique. You just look at this portion. If you can see this portion here, you can see this is a gel basically. This gel, so he could, like protein gel, you can see he developed a gel system by which you can follow the progress of the mobility of nanomaterials. And these are confocal. These are the confocal images, and you see here, you could find out the localization of the nanomaterials somewhere here in the cell where the nanomaterial goes. And this is one of the things which attracted a lot of attention. And in this particular image, he shows that how cell cycle is affected in presence of gold nanoparticles when conjugated with different materials like amino acids like arginine. In this case, we showed arginine. So different concentration of arginine changes the cell cycle pattern. This is also something which may interest you, because all of you are used to the term platelet, and many nutritional elements actually affect our platelet response. Some people, doctors advise, don't take this, it will create hyperaggregation of platelets. Okay, don't smoke and all those things, particularly for smokers like me. So people say that. So this is how aggregation is monitored. And actually what Shurjani showed was that many nanomaterials actually changes the aggregation pattern quite a bit. Okay, and she also showed that smaller the nanoparticle, the more conspicuous is the response. Then we had a student called Sarita. She showed that many of us are used to the term chirality. Chirality is left-handed and right-handed. So how it is reflected in nanomaterials? Now what we did was we conjugated a nanomaterial with a left-handed amino acid and a right-handed amino acid. Now if you look at this pattern, it will be interesting. You can see here the CD, this is called circular diaprism. And you can see the left-handed and right-handed showed an inverted plasmonic CD. So what we found out was there is something called a plasmonic circular diacritic signal. And that makes a very interesting sense. That is, when you are adding an amino acid with chirality, that is inducing some kind of chirality to the plasmonic behavior also. That's a very interesting thing. And so she showed it with the silver nanoparticles, and I did not elaborate the one of the very interesting finding that many of the drugs have the chiral properties, out of which one particular chiral form is effective as a drug, other is not. So we thought that why not try this technique with nanomaterials, and we conjugated a drug with nanomaterials, and then we also had the two forms, and we found out with nano conjugation the response of the cell, okay, changes totally different way. When the chiral nanoparticle, like the chiral nanoparticle, the chiral drug and conjugated with chiral nanoparticle had a totally different response. So those who are particularly working in the nanomedicine, this chiral form is very important. In fact, the chirality part I am just for to share with the persons who are interested in the food and nutrition research. Many molecules like this Ajinomoto and all those things, people get allergic to it because of this chirality. Because one form is good for the health, other form is not. So for nanomaterials also it is true. If we can make nanomaterials which is not good for, which is biocompatible, it has to be conjugated with the appropriate chirality. This is something which is a take-home message from this. Now this Shonik did something which is called MON. This he termed this MON. There's microparticles, nanoparticles from microparticles, or microparticle origin. So what is microparticles? Many cells like platelets, blood, they emit and excrete microparticles. Now what he tried to show is that microparticles can be used as a cavity for nanoparticles. And that he did using platelet derived microparticles. By the way, for those who are interested in this, many microparticles are very good clinical and metabolic indicators, because in different metabolic disorders, the microparticle pattern is different. Although nanoparticle may not be visible, microparticle is easily visible, even using microscope, at least using confocal microscope. So microparticle is one of the very interesting features. But at the same time, I'm just telling you, microparticle can lead to nanoparticle production, because they behave as a small cavity where nanoparticles are effectively produced. And this is another example. This is by Raja, another student of mine who is now a postdoc in US. This is basically magnetic nanoparticles. You can see the color is slightly brownish. And what we did was we did a number of magnetic studies using this, and we did free iron separation using this, and we did something called some kind of spionic, what is called liquid state studies using this. Now, I'm sorry for the quality of the slide; it's not very good. But what we showed that can be magnetic memory of these nanoparticles, and these are called spions. And these particular nanoparticles, the iron nanoparticles, are very useful, and they can be actually employed in MRI studies, MRI contrast agents, iron nanoparticles. By appropriate conjugations, you can do a lot of things. And Jyoti did something very simple work, but very useful work. That is, use nanoparticles to show that normal and cancer cells behave in a different way. You can see here that this is normal cell and this is cancer cells, because ROS induces the nanoparticle produced ROS. They actually produce different effects in normal and cancer. So this is what she did was she did what is called comet assay, using which she studied the DNA damage, and using that, the mean telomeric length, she found out that normal is not affected much, although it's negative, but basically it is not affected much. But for cancer cells, there's a big effect of the comet pattern. Then we did some other interesting thing. We prepared nanomaterials from biologically obtained materials like chlorophyll. So we made a nano chlorophyll, and my student Abhishek showed that you can use when you have a nano chlorophyll, it acquires some magnetic moments. You know, the structure of chlorophyll is very close to that of hemoglobin. And so what Abhishek showed was that you can have, you can just focus into this part, that there is a logic gate kind of thing, that presence of magnetic field in presence of chlorophyll nanoparticles, what it does is it produces uncoupling like effect. So if we have a magnetic nanoparticle, then you can have a combination of magnetic field and magnetic nanoparticle to produce logical events within the cell. So in this case, what is happening is, by producing external magnetic field, you are having an uncoupling like effects. Okay, and this was done in a thylakoid, and so this is one of the most interesting work. Unfortunately, this theoretical basis of this work has not been done, but the observation itself has a lot of, it says that magnetic field induced effects in magnetic nanoparticles may be very interesting future studies. We did some work on the carbon nanoforms. He's Tamagno, and he did one work which he has got a US patent also here. Basically, carbon nanotube and lipid combination complex. What he did was he made giant lipids out of it. Basically, what he did was the lipid tail gets into the single wall carbon nanotubes to make a giant lipid, and those lipids actually fold to make a giant liposome, and these liposomes can be used for what is called soft immobilization of enzymes. So this was one of the very interesting things which we did. You can see here the idea that you have combination here, then suddenly these are giant lipids, and then you can have a formation of closed structures, giant liposome-like structures, and within this, within these particular structures, you can have entrapment of enzymes. You can have entrapment within this here. So this is one of the very interesting part. Then Shangita did one work on microbial community, basically used biofilms to make nanoparticles, and using biofilms you can have multiple type of nanoparticles with interesting electrical properties. So she did some what is called electrical measurements using this, and this is a very interesting electron microscopic work where she is showing how biofilm can be very good template for making nanomaterials. Biofilms which are very harmful and all that, we took what is called photosynthetic biofilms. They are not so harmful. So using that, you can make very good nanomaterials because they form cavity-like structures like this. You can see here, if you look at the scanning electron microscope, you can see here, they form very interesting structures and they give rise to good nanomaterials. The red color showed that the gold nanomaterial is produced. And by the way, this giant work by Tamagno and Sangeeta, they relate to oxygen sensor. We could make an oxygen sensor using this single wall carbon nanotube. Now, this is the last part of my lecture. Almost have come, and Anirban was more or less almost the last scholar. Almost, I'm saying, because not exactly the last, but he did something nanomaterials which is called bacteria graphene interactions. He showed that photosynthetic bacteria can distinguish between two forms of graphene. For example, it is something I'm giving an analogy. Suppose you have a very old house in which you know that in particular old house a fungus grows very nicely. But another house which is not sold, there will be fungus, but fungus will not so happy. I mean, it will not grow in that big way. Similarly, bacteria can find out the defects in the graphene. For them, the defect structure is very helpful for their growth. And so, depending on the nature of the graphene, the bacteria grows differently. And so he showed very nicely that using biology, you can do discrimination of material science. So normally we do other things. We use material science to do some useful biological work. But here he is using a bacteria to do some material science discrimination. And so I am coming to the end. So I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, this great opportunity to talk to you. I'll invite questions if you have any.
Many questions. Thank you, sir. Sir, you have demonstrated, I think, 10 to 12 theses in your one lecture. In each slide, I have questions to ask, and you are a storehouse of ideas. I think it's great to hear from you. In each slide, you have given some idea. I was thinking of that. I think everyone has many. Shomom, who will tell the questions?
Shomam,
Yes, ma'am.
you can put the questions for sir. Sir, I have a question.
Sure, please go ahead.
Sir, you had talked about nanomaterials application in the food science. Have you tried any nanomaterial application in the food packaging?
Yes, not food packaging, but I told you about this work with Pia Chaudhary. She has gone abroad already, but she was under I think someone from botany, Rumapal, I think. They use algae. And what we did was we used silver nanoparticles we grew in the algae. And then that silver nanoparticles which we grew, and we kept fruit hanging nearby in the aerosol. Okay. And we found out that the fruit remains fresh. So the idea was that if we can somehow purify the air, because this is something, as I told you in the beginning, this is an unexplored area, that how nanomaterial can be useful for aerosol treatment. Because if you can make small changes in the aerosol, maybe some absorption of some specific gases, or even killing some airborne bacteria or virus. I don't know the mechanism, but the thing is, we proposed the mechanism, but I'm not sure about whether that is only. But the phenomena was happening that if we kept silver nanomaterial there, the degradation of the fruit, the same banana stayed very fresh for 8-9 days, whereas the control actually became rotten within 2-3 days without the same temperature, the same condition. So if you say that food packaging, it is not food packaging, but it is rottening of food. Nanomaterial can prevent. I have a belief that if provided,
Okay, it can prevent the decomposition of the
decomposition of the food by affecting the aerosol.
Aerosol surrounding the air, surrounding the air. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. The other food package, other nano interesting food-based application is probably the glycation thing. That glycation products, I think, although people will not be interested, but when you take cake or in each and every birthday, it is important for us to see the aged products, because cake is a hotbed for advanced glycosilic end products, because it contains both protein and sugar. And gur, our gur, was Nolan gur, that is probably rich with aged products.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful and comprehensive overview. And I can see in the YouTube chat box, everyone is thanking you for making everything clear, and from the basics to the applied perspectives. Yes, one question is there in the YouTube that I want to ask. Then, ma'am, can what should I do? Should I ask?
Put your question.
Yes, sir. Can you please highlight on the toxicity aspects of nano food?
Yeah, nano food. There are there are two ways of doing it. As I told you, there are two kinds of nanomaterials. One is synthetic nanomaterials. One is evolved nanomaterials. Suppose nanochlorophyll, for example. If you can make the food in the nanoform, okay, then that the toxicity issue does not arise. But that may be, in fact, quite interesting and effective. When in more familiar terms, suppose we take chira and koi and muri. They're all made of the same stuff, rice. Okay. Now, but some people say, muri is good. Some people say koi is very good for health. We really don't know. But the thing is, it is quite possible that if you take the intact food stuff and make nanoform of it, in fact, it may have some health benefit. The researches have to be done in this regard, because we really don't know the answer.
Sir,
okay, sir. Thank you. So, Pubali ma'am, yes.
Yeah, in your work with lipid graphite, what's the lipid? Is it phospholipids?
Yeah, the lipid thing is what we took was single or double-tailed lipid, phospholipid.
Phospholipids. Actually, we have done some emulsions with phospholipid, and as phospholipids are very big molecules among the lipids, so if for emulsion it is very difficult to produce just emulsion, nano emulsions with phospholipids, and we have to add some twin 20, 40, and then it becomes the round, the
Right.
shape of the molecule because that makes it more stable. Because unless it is round in say shape, it becomes unstable. So the lipid quality, the lipid characteristic is very important for stability of the molecule,
Yes.
stability of the materials. And again, another question from the chaperon. What's that? I didn't.
Chaperones, basically, what happens is some nanomaterials can prevent protein unfolding. Let me put it this way. You know, a protein if the protein unfolds.
That is the function of a chaperon.
Normal chaperones, what they do is they protect the protein
Protect the point, yes.
like the heat shock proteins is a
Yes,
chaperone.
yes.
Now, nanomaterials can also provide the protein on surface, which prevents its unfolding and subsequent aggregation formation.
Okay.
And protein aggregation is very important because all this Alzheimer's disease and all those things are produced by protein aggregation only.
Okay.
So it's a conformational disease. So if you can do it,
but is it gold or something metal nanomaterial?
in this case, we used gold. That time, what we did was we used gold.
But in the in vivo system, we can't use this.
We cannot use. I agree with you. Probably, but the idea was like this: that that time it was not known. So I just thought that whether the idea can be. It was idea testing.
Okay.
That whether chaperone type of activity can be found out using nanomaterials or not.
And another one is biofilm.
Biofilm is a relatively recent work. Yeah.
Yes, and it's very nice because we are also working with biofilm, nanobiofilms for keeping the. So we can use them in food also, and also for growing tissues.
Yeah, are you using it for killing the biofilm, or you are using?
No, not killing the biofilm. We are making the biofilm with carbohydrates, with tamarind carbohydrates, and then
because most of the people who do biofilm, they want to kill them because it is dangerous to have biofilms in your, for example, many of pathogenic bacteria, they create havoc in your body. But
yes.
not do that. Okay, yeah, your interest is similar to what.
Yes. That is for food storage or tissue growth.
Yes, it will be possible. In fact, your food storage may be an interesting idea. That is, you can use nanobiofilms.
Yeah.
Probably for food storage. Probably we already have the indication that silver is good. If you can make nanobiofilm.
Yes, we are introducing
direct contact, but you have to avoid the contact.
Yes, within the film, we are using a little silver nanoparticle, and then we are producing the biofilm.
Okay. You can use this kind of food preservation.
Yeah.
Of fruit, rottening of fruits. It's a very good model. We already did. It works very nicely.
Another one is actually many years ago you told me to work in the biopesticides. And I think that biopesticide it is very useful because it will very little amount will be required for pesticides. But they are not giving the projects. Without project, we cannot do these type of work. So
what you can do is what we used to do was making a small MSc student to work a little bit, and if something good comes out, then you write the project. Then you have an initial idea of how it is working.
Okay.
So if you have initial feedback of how it works, that is always very good.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. সৌম্য, আর কারোর কোনো প্রশ্ন আছে? Amrita,
Yes, one more question is there in the chat box. For the calculation of energy, is Box-Benken experimental design necessary?
Box-Benken experimental design. I don't know what it is. I really Box-Benken. What is that? Can Amrita explain?
Amrita, you can talk.
Yeah.
Amrita?
I really
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know about this.
আমিও খুব একটা মানে শিওর জানি না, কিন্তু এই পলিনোমিনাল সেকেন্ড অর্ডার এরকম একটা ডিস্ট্রিবিউশন কিছু একটা মানে পড়ছিলাম, আমি নিজে খুব একটা বুঝতে পারিনি।
I think it's a RSM technique, right? Response
Yes, yes,
surface methodology.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
Yeah.
একদম একদম
Possible.
রেসপন্স সারফেস মেথোডোলজি ঠিক।
Like the central composite design that we have. So this is another kind of design.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
Yeah.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
I
হ্যাঁ,
really
হ্যাঁ,
don't
হ্যাঁ।
know about this. But
রেসপন্স সারফেস মেথোডোলজি
I'll
ঠিকই,
definitely read about it.
এটাই এটাই।
Okay,
Thank
so
you, sir.
I think no more questions are there. So thank you, sir. Once again, it's really a pleasure for us to have you.
Me also.
Yes, sir.
It was homecoming for me because anything that happens in Calcutta University is always. So since I'm not in touch, I really feel very good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
So, should we start the poster presentation session?
Yes, yes.
Are the presenters are ready? They are there.
Please call the names.
Please call
Yes.
out their names if they are present there.
I'm announcing the names of today's candidates. Professor Shireen Shekhar, Dr. Sudhanand Prasad Lal, Miss Rosie Kamaraj, Moshali Sinha Shorkhel, Dr. Caroline A, and Dr. Ritu Goswami. Is anyone present here? Please let us know.
I can only see Moshali is there.
Yes, Moshali Sinha. Okay, so we can start with her. Okay, so we are starting with Moshali Sinha Shorkhel, madam. She is a faculty of food and nutrition at the Hiralal Majumdar Memorial College for Women, West Bengal. The title of his poster, is Nutrify India, Enlighten Poshan Ma. Ma'am, please, you can share your poster.
1 second. Can I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, madam. Good evening to all. Myself, Moshali Sinha Shorkhel, Food and Nutrition Department, Food at Hiralal Majumdar Memorial College for Women. Wish you all a healthy and prosperous National Nutrition Month. In this occasion, I am going to present e-poster on Nutrify India, Enlighten Poshan Ma. Hippocrates said that our food should be our medicine and our medicine should be our food. Poshan Abhijan is India's flagship program launched in March 2018 to improve nutritional status of children up to 6 years, adolescent girls, pregnant women and lactating mothers to achieve specific targets for reduction of low birth weight babies, stunting growth, undernutrition and prevalence of anemia over next 3 years. To ensure a holistic approach, all 36 states and districts are being covered in a phased manner. As example, 315 districts in 2018 to 2017 to 2018 and 235 districts in 2018-19. and the remaining district in 1920. More than 10 crore people will be benefited by this program. The program incorporates inclusive participation of public representatives of local bodies, government departments of the state, local organizations, and public and private sectors at large. To give momentum to Poshan Abhijan, National Council of India Nutrition Challenges on 24th July 2018 decided to celebrate the month of September as Rashtriya Poshan Maah. During this month, activities related to nutrition awareness will be carried out by all the states up to the grassroots level. The implementing agencies like Women and Child Development through Anganwadi workers, Health and Family Welfare Department through ASHA, ANM, primary health centers, community health centers, schools, education, literally department through school, Panchayat Raj department through Panchayat, rural development through self-help group with carry out the activities and spread the message during this month. In this program, the beneficiaries are pregnant women, lactating women, for children, adolescent girls, community people. At first, for pregnant women, intake of balanced diet containing variety of food that rich in iron and vitamins. Add milk and milk products and iodized salt, AFA tablets, and calcium supplementation. Awareness about personal hygiene and cleanliness and maintain social distancing, wearing mask, wash hands before eating, get at least 4 antenatal checkups from at least nearest health facility. Promote for institutional delivery at nearest health center. For lactating mothers, breastfeeding should be started within 1 hour of childbirth. Take balanced diet containing variety of food which rich in iron and vitamins. Regular IFA tablet intake till 6 months after delivery and calcium supplementation should be needed. Wash hands before eating and feeding children. Wash hands after defecation and handling child stool. Personal hygiene of herself and baby. For children, every newborn baby should be breastfed within 1 hour of birth. Mothers should exclusively breastfeed their babies for the first 6 months. Weaning should be introduced on completing 6 months with breastfeeding continues till 2 years and beyond. Every child should be provided full immunization under Universal Immunization Program. From 9 months onwards, give vitamin E supplementation and syrup to twice a year. Every child who has diarrhea is given sufficient ORS and zinc supplementation. And for adolescent girls, balanced diet intake rich in iron and vitamins, intake IFA tablets, blue tablets, maintain personal hygiene and menstrual hygiene. Take deworming tablet twice a year, drink safe water, wash hands before eating and after defecation. For community level people, maintain social distancing and wear masks. Every household safety dispose of child and animal feces. Every member of all households use toilet at all times. Promote girls' education and right marriage age. Cultivation of vegetables, poultry farming, fisheries in the community for local use. These all activities effort awareness on nutrition education and personal hygiene can glorify Poshan Abhijan as well as Rashtriya Poshan Ma on this occasion of National Nutrition Month. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the presentation. Now, please let us know if anyone else is present.
Yes, sir. Dr. Sudhanand Prasad Lal is here from Central
Yes, sir.
Agricultural University, Pusa, sir.
Yes, sir. So, I would like to invite Dr. Sudhanand Prasad Lal, Assistant Professor cum Scientist, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Central Agricultural University, Bihar. The title of his poster is Situational Analysis of Nutritional Security in India, 2600 BCE Overview to Present Era. Sir, you can now share your screen.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, it was preponed. That's why I'm
fine, sir. Fine.
Yes, yes, sir. 1 second, sir. पानी दीजिए. Sir, my slide is visible?
Yes. Yes.
Good evening, one and all. My poster presentation is on the topic Situational Analysis of Nutritional Status in India, 2600 BCE, Overview to Present Era. Situational analysis is that in which situation itself become a unit of analysis. So in that, I will discuss the past and the present scenario. I am also the co-PI of All India Coordinated Research Project for Women in Agriculture, in which we widely do research on nutrition and food security, especially for women and children. Introducing to my poster, a report published in Elsevier by Archaeological Survey of India that 7 similar big-sized brown laddu, high-protein multigrain laddu was found in the excavation in Harappan site in Rajasthan, and you can see it that 7 large-sized laddu is there, and that is multigrain. So from that we can conclude that our past forefathers were fully aware about the multi-nutritional status and how it is important for the health. And you can also see the excavation side on the right-hand side. So from that, I compared the past with the present by comparing 4 agroclimatic zones of Bihar by analyzing the Bihar Krishi Roadmap. We all know that it is one of the largest projects of Bihar government, Bihar Krishi Roadmap, and every time it was launched by the President of India, and the 3rd phase was launched by President Kovind. The objective of my presentation is to evaluate the nutritional status of historical India, that is the Harappan era, 2600 BCE, before Christ era, and to compare the nutritional status of past and present. The hypothesis, I framed the alternative hypothesis rather than the null hypothesis, because the alternative hypothesis was that the present era is nutritionally secure than the past, because in present we have more techniques, tools, and we are more economically prosperous. It is well evident. The materials and method that I used is observation and immersion, content analysis of visual and textual materials, open-ended survey, focus group discussion, Suluvian et al. For normalization and oral history and ranking by Alfairs 2009 methodology. And Alfairs method of ranking and normalization is so popular that it is used by most of the European country and even by the oil providing country like Saudi Arabia. So we can see the radar chart. I am zooming it more for more clarity. As we can see the result, that in Bihar, I made the livelihood security index that is called comprehensive rural livelihood security index. In that we can see the nutritional security. Nutritional security was least secure, that was 0.269, while food security was highly secure, 0.6744. And that was due to social safety net or food safety net in Bihar through public distribution system, but it was not nutritionally secure. So we must focus on nutritional security. And I did zone-wise comparison of all 4 agroclimatic zones. The greener part, Nalanda, it was more nutritionally secure, followed by Samastipur and followed by Purnia. And the least it is shown by the green red color. And it is the danger zone, as it has been shown by the red color. And it was the least nutritionally secure district or zone of Bihar. And we can see that this is color-coded stratified radar chart in which the upper part is greener zone, while the lower bottom part is the red zone that I have propounded. So the major finding, the 7 big brown laddus, also known as high protein multigrain laddus, found in Harappan site in Rajasthan, implies that the level of nutritional security may be high in the past. So it's time to learn from past, and we must run a campaign that see even our forefather that had been around 4,500 years back, they were fully aware about the nutritional security or the importance in our body and maintaining the immunity. Even in the COVID era, it is prerequisite. We are concerned about our immunity, and multi-nutrient laddu or any such sort of thing is going to boost our immunity further. Food security in Bihar was 0.674, most secure, but nutritional security was just 0.269. And that was alarming because it was least secure, because the value, our cutoff value was 0.3. If it is less than that, the situation is alarming. Now, what my message to the policymaker is that Poshan Abhiyan Convergence Mission to address malnutrition must be implemented through ensured community mobilization. We need community mobilization to encourage people participation. And finally, my conclusion is that research concludes that India in past may be more food secure than the Eastern India, taking the case of 4 agroclimatic zone of Bihar, as nutritional security in Bihar was just 0.269, which was least secure, less than 0.3 value. So it's time to nutritionally secure India. We are almost food secure due to intervention of public distribution system, social safety net, food safety net, even Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Yojana, which gave 5 kg of grains and 1 kg of pulses, preferred pulses basically, to food secure India. Now it's time to nutritionally secure India, so that no men or women, especially pregnant women, should be anemic, and they should suffer from any sort of this disease. This is my reference from the scientific report from Elsevier, and this is the end of my presentation. Thank you one and all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for presenting such a unique topic. So we are delighted.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I can hear you. Thank you so much, sir.
Somam, please call the next presenter.
Rosie, Miss Rosie Kamraj.
Miss Rosie Kamraj is there, madam?
Yes, she is there.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
you can present your poster now.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, all of you saw my screen?
Can you make it slideshow full screen?
Yes, ma'am. Is this
Yes,
okay, ma'am?
yes, now it is okay. You can start.
Okay, ma'am. Hi, everyone. I had like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Rosie, Assistant Professor, Holy Cross Home Science College, Thuthukudi, Tamil Nadu. I am glad to be here with you today. I will present my finding on efficacy of flaxseed and soya bean on postoperative breast cancer patient. Objectives of my study was to find out the risk factors of the breast cancer, to evaluate the nutritional status of the patients, to analyze the efficacy of supplements of the patients. The methodology pertaining to the study, the efficacy of supplementation of flaxseed and soybean on post-operative breast cancer patient is discussed under the two phases. Phase 1 to assess the general profile and possible risk factors of the breast cancer by the interview schedule. Then phase 2 efficacy of the chosen supplements on post-operative breast cancer patients. Now I introduce details of my supplements group. Group 1 included normal control, drugs control undercomes group 2, then domoxifen and soybean supplementation under group 3, then domoxifen and flaxseed supplementation under group 4, and domoxifen, soybean and flaxseed undercome group 5. Where domoxifen used as an anti-cancer drugs. 180 days I was given the supplementation like roasted soybean and flaxseed powder to the chosen group in the form of buttermilk. Herewith, I saw the research from the laboratory analysis before and after intake of the supplements in the form of table and flowchart, especially hemoglobin, red blood cell and white blood cell value raised after intake of supplementation, both flaxseed and soybean. From the result and discussion, we observed some extent of betterment in the supplemented group, both soybean and flaxseed, and then the medication group in both hematological and biochemical profile. Hence, I conclude here to continuation of intake of soybean and flaxseed may want the natural low cost dietary supplementation to away from the side effects of domoxifen. Thank you. Thank you, one and all present here.
Thank you for the presentation, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I will like to request the next presenter, Ms. Caroline A., Assistant Professor, Department of Food Science and Nutrition, Holy Cross Home Science College, Tamil Nadu. The title of her poster is Development and Quality Assessment of Green Soup Powders. Ma'am, please present your screen.
Kindly unmute yourself.
Miss Caroline, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself and speak?
Good evening, one and all present here. I am Caroline, Assistant Professor, the Department of Food Science and Nutrition. Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, we can hear you, Caroline. You can proceed.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am. My topic is development and quality assessment of green soup powder. Objectives are to study the socio-economic status of the respondents, to prepare the green soup powder, to analyze the nutrient content and microbial content of green soup powder, to standardize the acceptability of the soups, to cost analysis and popularize of the green soup powder, to examine clinical and nutritional status of school-going children, and then access and the effects of the supplementary feeding on school-going children. Methodology of the first one is the selection of the sample, and then equipment used in the study, and selection of recipe and processing of green leaf dry method, and preparations and formulation of green soup powder. Second one is the analysis of green soup powder and packaging of green soup powders, and shelf-life study of the green soup powders, and chemical analysis of green soup powders, and nutrient analysis of green soup powders, and cost analysis of green soup powder. For the preparation of green soup powder, good quality of green leaves, amaranth, moringa, and sesbania, alternatia, essence, and hibiscus. These greens are purchased from local market in Thoothukudi. The equipment used are the balance, mixie and woven and sieve. These are the selected for the equipment, and then processing and green leaves and other ingredients dry method. 1 kilogram of edible parts of every raw greens were washed and dried in room temperature for 7 days till dried and transferred to mixing and grind it fine powders and kept in the oven at 20 degrees Celsius in 2 minutes. The amaranth washed thoroughly and kept in for drying in room temperature for 7 days. And every greens kept in 7 days and dry the powder. First one is the collection of greens leaves and removal of foreign matters and washing and drying and heating and grinding. And then preparation and formulation of green soup powder is 50 gram of amaranth powder and 30 gram gram powder and 2 gram rice powder and 5 gram pepper powder and 5 gram cumin powder, 5 gram corn flour and 2 gram chili powder and 1 gram salt. This is the first sample. And second sample is moringa powder. So 50 gram of moringa powder and 30 gram of green gram powder and 2 gram of rice powder and 5 gram of pepper powder and 5 gram cumin seed powder and 5 gram corn flour and 2 gram chili powder and 1 salt also. And then mix the powder and packet it. And the green powder was packed in the polypropylene cover and stored in a future purpose for the keeping in the polypropylene cover, and possibility for spoilage can be maintaining. The packaging must be cleaned and neat. The shelf life was analyzed. The change in the chemical composition and microbial load were analyzed. The removal of the intervals 90 days during the period of storage. And chemical analysis of the green soup powders are the moisture content, protein, acidity present in the sample. The analysis was done once in a month in a sample, and above the mentioned analysis was carried out. The nutrient analysis of the green soup powder was the moisture, calories, and protein, fat, vitamin A and vitamin C, calcium, iron. The microbial analysis or the viable count of the E. coli, yeast, and molds. These microorganisms may be improper handling, improper surrounding, and preparation. The procedure for the preparation and different products of green soup powders and mixes is also. And cost analysis was also calculated. And preparation of green soup, one mix content pack in 4 cups of water, 600 ml and stir so that no lumps and formed, and place on stove and bring the boil and stirring the continuously, simmer in 3 minutes and so the optimal the greenish, the onion, tomatoes, garlic and coriander leaves also add to taste. Then resultant discussion. The nutrient analysis was the moisture content is every greens, amaranth leaf and moringa leaves. Moisture content is 6.616 and agave leaves is 5.5 and calorie value for the amaranth leaves 245.24 and agave 160.25 and drumsticks 160.25 and panagani kirai 152.35
Caroline?
and
Miss
hibiscus. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse
Yes,
me,
ma'am.
Miss Caroline, can you
Yes, ma'am.
finish
Yes,
it
ma'am.
up fast? We have our second speaker on the line.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, so finally, it is a highly nutrient-based soup. It is a prevent anemia for all age group, and it is recommended for the preschool children and school-going children. For the green soup, is a very very highly nutrient soup, ma'am. Thank you so much for this give the opportunity, ma'am.
Okay, Caroline, thank you for your presentation. Okay, with this, we end the e-poster presentation today.
Okay, ma'am.
I welcome you all again. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, Dr. Cesario couldn't join us today. We may have a talk in the coming days. With this, I now welcome our second speaker for the day, Professor De from University of Calcutta. Sir, we are truly grateful that you had accepted our invitation at this precious time to encompass us with your great experience in the field of nutrition science. Sir, we are really grateful to you for accepting our invitation and giving out your knowledge for our future endurance. Thank you once again for your presence. Shomam, please welcome, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So our next speaker is Professor Shonjit De, Professor, Department of Physiology, Department of Sports Sciences, Center for Research in Nanosciences and Nanotechnology, University of Calcutta. He has done PhD in molecular biology and biophysics from the University of Calcutta, followed by postdoctorate from the School of Medicine, University of California, Los Angeles, USA. He was a visiting scientist at the MD Anderson Cancer Center, Texas, USA. He has more than 20 years of research and teaching experience and has completed 12 funded projects. His major areas of interest are innovative real-life therapeutic research, including human health care, role of subcellular organelles in health and diseases, innovation and value-added teaching. He is a member of National Academy of Sciences and currently holding numerous responsible administrative duties in the university and other academic institutes. The title of his today's lecture is Nutrition in Post-Pandemic Era, Context in India. So welcome, sir. We are eagerly waiting for your lecture.
Thank you very much, organizers, particularly Professor Pubali Dhar Ghosh, and who is now Dean and Head of the Department of Home Science. I'm really grateful that you have invited me in this wonderful occasion, and hope I am audible, right?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, okay. And thank you, Dr. Anna Lakshmi, for introducing me, and Shonam, right? Shonam.
Shomam, sir.
Yes, sir, Shomam.
Okay, Shomam. Okay. So thank you very much for kind introduction. Okay, though actually it was, I'm really grateful that I could join in this nice occasion, and this is particularly the National Poshan Ma is being celebrated, and it is a wonderful endeavor from the Department of Home Science, all members of the Department of Home Science, that you have organized it. And I was also a member of some organization which are related to some extent, related with the nutrition science. And a lot of my work actually, started with the nutrition, the fundamental. I think that is one of the most fundamental aspects of life, I would say. And as I start with my interact with my students, then I always ask my students, okay, so what are the basic features of livelihood? The first thing that comes after the birth, after one cell, that it requires. So birth is kind of an obvious process. So it is nothing to do with that with the cell for one cell. But for nutrition, it is nutrition is that aspect that one particular cell. I'm not talking about that one particular organism. Okay, so it actually starts gathering. So nutrition is very, very one of the most fundamental fundamental aspects for livelihood for each and every cell. Okay, and each and every live cells, I would to be very precise. And in that way, with that this aspect, with that particular fundamental process, that individual cell starts growing. So if birth is that one arm of the triangle, one point of the triangle, then growth is another, and the third one is the death. So birth, growth, and death. So these three, completes one triangle. Now, so that's why that at the I cannot place kind of thing that nutrition at the vertex of the triangle or whatever, or at the base, but it is one of the major, point in the triangle. So if that point is kind of some way it is dislodged, that entire triangle would be, unstable. It would become unstable. All right. So having said that, I would like to briefly present before you that what are the, in this present context, I thought that what aspect I should talk about. So I think that nutrition, as it was, is very, very important now in this post-pandemic era. All right. So already we have faced that pandemic. So now it is our role. We have to be some way. We have to be retrospective way. We have to find out the clues, find out what are the lacunae, and also then we have to act proactively. I mean, what we can do. Now there are lots of avenues are there. So I was really fascinated to see the wonderful the speakers list and very nicely crafted programs of this nutrition week that is designed by the Department of Home Science. I really fascinated with that, and there is I think almost every aspect of the nutrition, though it is endless. I would say that some of my presentations, it is you will see that it is now, as you have designed, crafted that artificial intelligence and nutrition. You have crafted some aspects of fundamental aspects of the nutrition, and I think yesterday it is Hemlata madam who nicely presented the what are the policies and what are the needs of the hour in context of the Indian nutrition policies and all. So in some aspects, I would like to just a very small aspect of this thing. And essentially, and I love to talk on the micronutrients at some point of time, because that micronutrient is one of the major aspects that in many for a long period of time know that with that advent of the nutrition, or actually when the nutrition was considered as the scientific subject, so even then the micronutrient was kind of ignored. People could not follow the what are the important aspect of it. Okay, so it was perhaps Linus Pauling who actually endeavored this particular issue. All right. So now, just I'm going to present my work. So not our presentation today. I hope that it will be visible to everyone. And so this is actually I went directly to the acknowledgement slide anyway. So hopefully, is it visible? Hopefully, is it visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. So now today, as you have mentioned that my topic of today's discussion is that I thought that
can you go to a slideshow?
Sure, absolutely. And I thought that it would be most appropriate now to talk about the nutrition in the post-pandemic time, and obviously what would be the role of we Indians. All right. So I am presenting my more than 150-year-old university, and also I am presenting century-old department. It is 110-year-old department of physiology. So I'm really fortunate to present our work, and I'm alumnus of this university. All right. So, okay. So actually, a lot of my work centered on the phytochemicals, and my first work started with the phytochemical from my courtier tree. That is, it is very popularly known as that Shojne in Bengali, and it is Moringa oleifera. So, and I thought that after on my return, I thought that return from postdoc research, I found that there are lots of indigenous issues. Those are really pertinent to work with. So one of them is that I think they are non-communicable disorders. Those are actually incubating. Yes. You can say the cancer is also a part of it, and but there are many like diabetes, hypertension, obesity. These and eventually India has already become the diabetic hub of the world. All right, it is perhaps surpassing the China in diabetes, in the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the other fatty liver diseases. So it is perhaps we are sitting on the time bomb. So whether or not our natural phytonutrient can prevent it, whether our grandmother's recipe with some kind of probiotics can prevent it, or some kind of fermented food. So that actually came in my mind, and I started delving on those issues. And then I found that yes, there are some Mother Nature's cures are there, so which can really can answer and can alleviate some of the epidemic. And I think we are sitting on multiple pandemic, not even by the COVID, but we were already sitting on the diabetes, hypertension, obesity. All right, and so I think it is kind of 4 or 3 pandemics are already we have been entangled with. We are suffering. So there are some slokas are there. So lots of slokas from our traditional scriptures. Okay, and okay. So many of you might know that Ayu Shattva Balarogva Shukha Priti Vivar Ganha Rashwa Snigdha Sthira Hridaya Ahara Shaktika Priya. That is what it says, that actually it says the history of the diseases and also the remedies. And perhaps at that point of time in our traditional times, it was obviously the diseases were also there. And the Gita's scriptures on the food, that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained that foods in the mode of the goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, give strength, health, happiness, satisfaction. And these palatable and nourishing food include the grains, milk products, fruits, and vegetables. So already the concepts of many, nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients were there. And perhaps with at certain point of time and with some kind of historical aspects, perhaps we forgot it. Okay, we kind of ignored it. Okay, but we cannot actually the food alleviates many of our diseases, many of our ailments, and we can keep ourselves healthy for a long period of time. Yes, and we can survive. We can kind of battle with many of the diseases, even with the the COVIDs also. So that's some of the points I want to deliver before you. The foods that are overly bitter, sour, salty, dry, or hot are in the mode of the passion. These foods disturb the mind and cause the disease. So there is one term these things nowadays are coming: mindful eating. So mindful meditation is one thing, and mindful eating is another. So the convenient food, fast food, we have to be very careful. Okay, so definitely at some point of time it disturb our mind and cause disease. Okay, and we have to cut down all these things. I mean, you cannot do it one night. You have to practice it. Okay, and we also read that food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is enjoyed by people in the mode of ignorance. So it might be tasteful, but it might be it can invite many diseases. All right. So what are the scientific views? What are the diseases or the ailments? Okay, in one word, it is perturbation of the physiological harmony. So that is the disease, and it is shifting of the metabolic challenges produced by food or the environmental factors. Okay, now very quickly, this is one of my very favorite model that I want to show before you. So this is actually, you see that gene, lifestyle, environment, disease, and you see there is a threshold for appearance. I don't know whether you would see this dotted line, the threshold for appearance of symptoms. So when we do some kind of physical activity, we roll the ball towards health, and if we don't, then the overt clinical disorder comes into our life. Another is that when just the reverse, if we don't do some physical activity regularly, so we are actually incubating our life towards disorders. So as you see that these slope or the height has increased, so the health ball can really come down through the slope. And if we have some kind of susceptibility gene, say for example we inherit say diabetes, so there is nothing to do with it, but we can prevent. We can take some kind of precautions. All right. So in that case also, the health ball can roll towards the overt disorders. And if we don't follow, if we have the physical activity modules, and we have that susceptibility of some gene of some diseases, so definitely the slope is much sharper. And you see that our ancestors, they have their 50 genotype. 50 means that is conserved genotype. So they did not know when their next food will come to them. Okay, because they had to preserve their food for a long period of time. Maybe it's 1 month, maybe it's 6 months. So one hunting, they should preserve it. So our genome is like kind of 50 genome. We have kept our that all our metabolic pattern towards some kind of 50 type. All right. So genome with activity genes selected around 10,000 BC or longer, and now sedentary lifestyle has come. We have abundant food. We have enough food those that we don't need. Actually, we eat without our even though we are not hungry, right? So kind of snacking and all these things, all the time it starts. Okay, so these things were our lifestyle. Even I don't see that pandemic. Yes, pandemic has taken many lives. Definitely, it is definitely it is a curse for the human civilization. But nonetheless, I see some positive light in the pandemic. Why? Because at least we could put up some break in our lifestyle. We could thought retrospectively whether, okay, what we are doing. Are we taking enough good food? Are we taking, maintaining some good lifestyle? Are we maintaining some daily exercise? No, perhaps not. So we were always in stress. We were always in some kind of, we are running behind something. Okay. Yes, those the laborers and all these things. Those who earned daily wages, they had to run for their livelihood, but they still, since they were in work, they had a lot of physical activity. That's why essentially they did not incubate any disease. I follow two gurus in this field. One is Frank Booth and another is Bruce Ames. I'm just coming to their work, and you will realize, how fundamental their thinkings are. Okay, so this is perhaps the physical activities programmed into our genomes from the late Paleolithic era, and we have, with our advents of the technologies, with promotions of these automobiles and all the other comfort machineries and all in our life, what we have incubated, that has reduced our physical activity. So that is we are actually incubating more kind of inflammation. So physical activity and inflammation, these are two balancing acts. So we cannot deny it. So this is one of the major physiological finding. All right. So that Bruce Ames has predicted, and also the Frank Booth. Okay. Now micronutrient, that is another. So that has been put forward by Bruce Ames in his very seminal paper of mutation research in 2001. And just stop sharing to show another slide. Actually, I could not put it over here, so just I'm putting it on hold, and I just want to show that particular article of Bruce Ames. I hope that I have that. Yes, this is, I think, this is the very fundamental paper. The DNA damage from the micronutrient deficiencies is likely to be a major cause of cancer. And I always cite to my students. Okay, and I always cite to my, most of when I like to present to this kind of what micronutrient deficiency can cause. And you will see that what are the, there are some evidence-based, retrospective studies have been done. Okay, so see the dietary fruits and vegetables and cancer prevention. So he predicted that it is as good as radiation hazard. So in this very article, he has mentioned that micronutrient deficiency is as bad as nutrition hazard. Okay, ionizing radiation. So with that very strong statement he could make. Okay, because he with his own work, and with many other fundamental reviews and some research articles, he found that these micronutrients actually, so this is you see that he actually linked or correlated that folic acid is directly related with that DNA damage and the chromosomal breaks. Vitamin B12 chromosomal breaks. Vitamin B6 chromosomal breaks. Vitamin C definitely is actually it mimics radiation. So he emphasized that particular term.
The paper is no, we can't see the paper. Have you that?
Oh, really?
Not shared. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, I just escaped from that. See, can you see now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm really sorry for it. I thought that I was sharing. So DNA damage from the, so this was a very review article which was published in Mutation Research in 2001. And these, what he mentioned there, that dietary fruits and vegetables and the cancer prevention, and just the, the reverse, reciprocal role of the micronutrient and the cancer. And but he actually emphasized the cancer, but I also extend that his views with many other non-communicable disorders like obesity, like hypertension, and it is now textbook information. Okay, like vitamin D, like vitamin C, and their deficiency, vitamin E also, and zinc, niacin, selenium. So now in the after this COVID infection, so zinc has been promoted like anything. Okay, and also, but many people ignore the selenium, but selenium is also required. But some way zinc was promoted, but I don't give that mileage to the zinc alone. Yes, zinc is definitely important. It definitely improves that immunity to many of to most of our immune organs. On the top of it, the selenium, niacin, they are also important. Iron, they are also important. But some way that has not been promoted in that way. I don't know the reason. I mean, what was the reason behind it? There might be some conspiracy theory or whatever, but I'm not going into that. And also, you need not to always go for the supplement from the commercial sources. You can also have it from the natural sources. That was one of the major points that I wanted to mention, but I just quickly show the other, the vitamin B12, vitamin B6, B6, vitamin C, vitamin E, and all this selenium, zinc, and niacin, their role. All right. So now again, I go back to my presentation. So that's one thing. And another, I just would like to mention that in this another fundamental work has been put forward by Frank Booth, who also who actually told about not only the nutrition, but he mentioned about the physical activity. So I took that model of the physical activity and the health from Frank Booth's article, and I also correlated some of our work in line with that his proposition or with his hypothesis. All right. So now micronutrients, I am not going into that detail. It is some sort of class work almost. That is there are about 40 micronutrients are there, and these are required in very small amount. And why they are required in very small amount? Because of the fact they are required by some of the vital organelles in the cell. Okay, so that's why they actually cell could accommodate this micronutrient in very small order. Okay, they could manage with their small requirement alone. So now, so requirement depends on the optimum intake, obviously with the age, and we have to adjust all these things. This micronutrient, requirement with age, the genetic constitution, state of well-being, and be influenced by other aspects of the diet. So this is, some schematic of our genome, and so the genome and its activities are in many ways they are related with, they are harmony of these micronutrients as well as the macronutrients. Okay, so not only they are the genetics alone, but their epigenetics also, which are governed by the micronutrients, or their optimum conditions and optimum availability, not in excess, not in less. So they actually regulate in very intricate way. So now it has been, in many ways, it has been put forward that this is the very basic central dogma of cell is governed by the micronutrients. Okay, so the micronutrients can, in many ways, they regulate the transcription regulation or the mRNA editing or even the translational regulation, and obviously the post-translational modifications are much dependent on the micronutrient availability. They are endosomes, formation of the exosomes, and all these intracellular and the extracellular, crosstalks are dependent on the availability of the micronutrients and other factors, obviously. So, okay, I am not going into that detail, and with that thing, so this is one of the very wonderful retrospective study that this is the Dutch hunger winter of 1944 and 45. So this is one of the, it was during the post World War II time, and where you can see that, that there was a sudden fall of, carbohydrate, fat, protein, and the total number of calories. And with that prolonged winter time during the, in the Scandinavian countries, it had a very, prolonged impact. Okay. And that was manifested in this study, which was published in the Lancet in 1998, that the consequence of the Dutch hunger winter was there. Around, it was studied on around 700 men and women of around 50 years of age who actually were born in that time. So what happened to that? Their impaired glucose tolerance or the diabetes was there. So born before famine. So there was 202 exposed to famine in the late gestation, exposed to famine in the mid gestation, exposed to famine in the early gestation, and conceived after the famine. So see the consequence of the famine. And if this pandemic, I just correlate this particular study with our present pandemic. So if it happens, now with our food security, I think one component of food security is there. That is one of the very vital issue for the futuristic nutrition. It is very, very important, that food security. We have to, map our food for at least for not even for the 1 year, not even for the 2 year. The food security should be there. Okay, at least for 10, 15 years. Okay, so only the whatever our algorithms and the logistics should be, actually that should be, there should be some real handshake. Okay, to prevent this kind of pandemic. So this pandemic was brought forward by the famine, and you see that the prevalence of the diabetes with that famine, the consequence of the famine. So in these individuals were exposed to the famine in the late gestation period, and there was high impaired glucose. Percentage of the IGT or the diabetes was higher. You see that the number of the people, those who were born before or after, you see that there is impaired glucose tolerance. Okay, so this was a very fundamental study that actually it can be eye opener, and perhaps it is the the one of the that provoked Professor Bruce Ames to propose this kind of thing, that micronutrient deficiency, famine, and excess calorie, or even the less of calorie can modulate our health and disorder. Okay, and that can really regulate our non-communicable disorders. And there was birth weight and the risk for the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this is another study, related study. Okay, so I am skipping some of it because there are corn oil and coconut oil studies were there, and depending on that what type of strain of the mouse, so it would become either obese or non-obese. So depending on that corn oil and the coconut oil availability, and depending on their ability to digest or ability to utilize those the components. Okay, so this is another study, another epigenetics. When I teach epigenetics, so this is one of the primary slide I just start with. And change in the, so this is something with the diastolic blood pressure in response to fiber-based diet with the alleles of the AGT gene codon 235. So this was published in Nutrition Research. There is another fundamental study. All right, so genome health is really dependent on our nutrition, particularly our microenvironment and the micronutrient. And so why not pandemic or will influence our gene, because it has reduced our physical activity. It has kind of modulated. I won't say that reduced. It has modulated. It has changed our lifestyle in much greater way. That was which was not there when before the pandemic. That is before the just 1st January of 2020 or something. So micronutrient deficiency, I just summarize it with it can mimic the radiation or some kind of chemical exposure in damaging the DNA by causing the single or double strand breaks. Just take my words. And if you don't take my word, you just follow that paper of Bruce Hannes. So it was there. So he actually mentioned there that it can cause the chromosomal damage, it can cause that double strand break and all these things, and oxidative lesions, okay, and chromosomal aberrations, and also chromosomal aberrations such as the double strand breaks, and the strong predictive factor for the human cancer, okay. And so micronutrient deficiency is a plausible explanation for the strong epidemiological evidence that shows an association between low consumption of fruits, vegetables, and cancer and other non-communicable disorders. Now the question is why? And so this was essentially the less intake of fruit and vegetables were associated with the aging. So now it has been much delineated that our powerhouse, that is the mind organelle responsible for generating the power, is responsible for all these things. All right. So this is the so some genes of mitochondria, genes for the structural proteins, genes associated with the neurodegeneration, genes associated with the carbohydrate metabolism. So these are upregulated. And the genes associated with the fatty metabolism, mitochondrial function, genes associated with the gluconeogenesis, they are downregulated. So these are the some hallmarks of the aging. Okay. Now, if we trigger our mitochondria to more and to cycle it more and more, so definitely it would put forward more superoxides, because one component of the electron transport chain is is responsible for generation of the superoxides. So if we take more fatty food, more burnt food, barbecued food, so definitely it will our cell will incubate more oxidants. So definitely it would fasten our aging process, because in that way we'll have more of mitochondrial damage, and even the mitochondrial mitophagy, or even the cells will become pyroptosis. Immune cells will become necrotic kind of thing. So our immune system will be much less functional. So in that way we cannot tolerate inflammation and all these things. So essentially we will incubate our aging. We will kind of invite our aging. Okay. So we have to be responsible with our food. So that's why that the Gita scriptures, it is not some kind of religious scriptures that I'm emphasizing, but it was mentioned there. So so we have to follow some of the principles of taking food. So take your food, peaceful food in a peaceful, and take your food in a peaceful time. Okay. So there are a couple of antioxidant systems in our cells. However, these are not alone, because if the pro-oxidant things are in excess, okay, so then it can it cannot fight back all our the beta carotene, vitamin E, vitamin C, E, or even many of these even the superoxide dismutases, okay, catalases, they cannot fight back in appropriate way. All right, and even the glutathione also. So we have to have the harmony of these challengers. These are the our soldiers of our cell. So they actually prevent. And there are many other soldiers, so that I worked upon that, and many of you might have are also interested. That is the phytochemicals. So even these catalase, superoxide dismutases, carotene is also a phytochemical. Glutathione, okay, vitamin E, these are natural micronutrient, and there are many other phytochemicals are external sources of challenges. So they are actually some kind of, you can say that is the electron acceptor or scavengers. We say that they are the scavengers of the oxidants. Why? Because they exchange the electrons. So in some way they can take that that poison of oxidants, these phytochemicals. That is their major role. That's why they are they maintain on the top of this catalase, copper, zinc, or MnSOD copper or MnSOD, manganese superoxide dismutases in the mitochondria. So okay, so this is written over here. All right. So another, you see that food pattern evolution. So that actually goes at par with that work of Bruce Ames. So this is our hunter-gatherer time. You see there is no point of sugar over here. Can you see any component of sugar in this hunter-gatherer? So sugar was invented after the invention of our agriculture. Okay. So agriculture has with that has brought forward some sugars. Sugars were there in our natural fruits and vegetables, obviously, but it was externally we did not prepare it. But when we started doing that agriculture, we actually put forward some pinch of sugar in our food, and that has now increased like anything. And we have also increased the fat. So this is our modern society diet. See that this evolution of food actually has incubated our the danger of the diseases. So we actually incubated our dangers of diseases, no one else. All right. Now again, I just skip this thing because now you can correlate why I mentioned this, that our food and diet, why it was correlated. Okay, and that's why we are incubating coronary heart disease, hypertension, some site-specific cancers, type 2 diabetes, depression, physical frailty, osteoporosis, so on and so forth. All right. So I am also again, I can say that this is a very famous slide. Many people use this particular very famous diagram where it has been very lucidly presented that the cellular metabolism, UV light, ionizing radiation, chemical exposure, replication errors, they can cause a DNA damage, double strand break, as I have mentioned. And even you should also mention that ionizing radiation, you can replace this word with the micronutrient deficiency, as I mentioned, as Bruce Ames mentioned. So the DNA damage and the exogenous, so this is kind of cycle which the DNA repair, if DNA remains unrepaired, okay, so then it can, unrepaired DNA damage can lead to either senescent cells or the apoptotic cells or the cancerous growth. So these dangers are there. And so thereafter, after the elucidation of the human genome draft in 2000, in year 2000, so then another era came, that is one called the transcriptomics. Omics, the concept of omics actually emerged, and it became the people actually thought to share and thought to explain many things, that it is not the individual gene, but it is the entire portion of the gene, or even the entire portion of the gene, that is the genome. That is the concept of ome came. So the portion that is related to the nutrition is then was termed as the nutrigenome. So keeping apart the other individual related portion of the genomes, but though nonetheless it is definitely related, we cannot separate out, segregate that this portion of the genome is not related to nutrigenome, because it is some sort of it is a global phenomenon, obviously, but there are some specific part do its own specific action or specific execution. At least the phenotypic expressions actually are dependent on the specific portion of the genome activity. All right. So there are many tools and techniques. After that, it was invented, and now it is being explored. I think many of our esteemed speakers will throw light on this on these aspects. So, like nowadays, the next generation sequencing, microarray, RFLP, and SNP analysis would be there to explain the aspects of the nutrigenomics, and the metabolomics and the nutrigenomics actually that requires some specific aspects of the sample or collection or the from the tissues, from the organ, blood, urine, saliva, And now people are more, are going to explore on some wonderful aspects of the exosomes. So this can be done from the non-invasive way, that is also known as the liquid biopsy. So people can take saliva, urine, blood. You don't have to take blood. Okay, just for validation purpose, just for calibration purpose, we have to associate some of the blood biomarkers with the finding of the exosomal biomarkers of that we derive from either tear, urine, saliva, or from other sweat. So this we can correlate those things with the blood biomarkers. But now there are the exosomes, so they carry many of the non-coding RNAs, many of the other transcription factors. There could be some kind of some other microRNAs. Actually, I mentioned it. There is non-coding RNAs and many other stuff which are extracellularly secreted into the plasma, into the serum, into the urine, also in the saliva. So this exosome would be one of the card in the that will come into the for the future future analysis. And mass spectroscopic analysis, MALDI-TOF and NMR gene profile association, these will come into play. Obviously, this is all kind of the routine purposes of the metabolomics and the nutrigenomics analysis. These are being employed now. Okay, so some of our team work I am just going to present. Actually, it was not with particularly mentioning that some kind of obviously it was to explore on the non-communicable disorders and what are the nutritional aspects that we lack or that we have in excess. So this is our major dietary patterns and their associations with the cardiovascular risk factors among the women in West Bengal. Actually, it was done in the urban Kolkata region, some wards of the urban Kolkata. And also we found interesting the food pattern and the risk factors of the hypertension in some populations in the postmenopausal women. So some niche areas of research we actually focused, and also we also look into some association studies between the inflammatory markers and the cardiovascular risk factors in the women from West Bengal, Calcutta urban postmenopausal women we worked on. And so our our study was part of our one of the nutritional aspects, and you can say that is policy making work. So that we published in that Indian Heart Journal and population-based interventional studies for the cardiovascular disease related knowledge and behaviors in Asian Indian women. So, and we also high prevalence and low awareness treatment on the control of the hypertension in Asian women. Another study, so this was from our the central group. Actually, we are part of that central multicentric studies, and the migrant women. So they are also having more kind of they incubate more hypertension, and also the many other factors of the non-communicable disorders. So that was another interesting study from our multicentric group. Migrating husbands and changing cardiovascular risk factors in the wife, a cross-sectional study in Asian Indian women. So this was also derived from our own study. Okay, so that was very interesting. And now with the pandemic situation, so this migration of migration of the livers and all these things, we are just trying to correlate our previous studies with those things. So this COVID has given and has taken away many things, but actually I won't say that it is the loss. We cannot compensate the loss with anything with our findings or with our gains. But now it is our time to rethink our some of our observations, some of our post observations on the nutritional aspects that we can really plan upon. We can actually do some proactive way. At least the nutritional analysis, we can take care of the maternal nutrition, also the nutrition for the young children, particularly for the young teenager teenager children and particularly the girls. The girls' nutrition is very, very important because they are, one of the most susceptible group, and particularly not even in the urban sector, but also in the rural sector. And another interesting finding I must mention, that is there are many niche areas, but I must mention that is the special children. Okay, so they are also, that is another point of study. One can take it very seriously in the post-pandemic time. And also that is one of the I can say that is what I can say, that is so now in the Paralympic, what do we see? That lots of medals. So every day we are having some updates that new medals are coming. So is it not a very good thing? Is it not a very positive news? Because the sports nutrition, and for the particularly for the special people, the nutrition for the special persons, this is also very important, that we need to take care in this post-pandemic era. And I think the government will take appropriate policies and appropriate decisions on this. Both I think there are some health department of both state and as well as central government has taken appropriate step, but it is we people that we have to it should start from our home itself. Okay, we have to change our mindset. So that's the point I want to deliver to you. And there are some evidence that we worked on the Moringa oleifera tree, but I would just skip the slides because there are lots of things, and I just want to make some propaganda for the Moringa oleifera, not our work. And this is the famous Moringa oleifera tree, the drumstick tree, and which I started from my courtyard. And I am very fortunate that I found a very wonderful colleague of mine, and he is late professor, he is Dr. Shantinath Ghosh, with whom I started my courtyard tree. So I am very fortunate to work with him, and we got a lot of impetus and positive words from him. And with that challenging period of initial stages when I started my work with just one chair and table, that he has given his hands of faith on me. So that's why I could do a lot of work with this Moringa oleifera. All right. So so a lot of work was carried out in his laboratory. So many of this work that we tabled here. Okay. So now I just quickly passing on. Okay. So this is just to I'm showcasing some of my work. It is really slow animation that I can see. So we prepared this particular HPLC was done in Dr. Shantinath Ghosh's lab, and these two, and this was some of the analysis of the quercetin. This is one of the rich component of the Moringa oleifera tree, and that's why I am very much favor with the taking the common fruits and vegetables, because they are ready source of antioxidants. Okay, and the roots of bioprospecting. So there are lots of work we can do from here, and we actually kept a high fat model, because this is ideal model for high fat, high sucrose model. These are LCD model, or the non-communicable disorder model of human that mimics. So that's why we put forward this, and I'm just quickly showing this. Okay, so this is one of the where is that high fat model? It is the control, and this is the fat model. This is the fat rat. Okay, with that high fat diet, and this is the quercetin. You see that lean and thin this particular mouse, and this is also this beta sitosterol. That this particular beta sitosterol is obtained from, it is a phytosterol obtained from the Moringa oleifera. So take at least you can take the leaf, you can take the drumstick, or even you can take the flower also. The flower actually is a seasonal. Okay, so there are lots of work we have cell signaling work, and that actually has opened many vistas of our work. So that initial work that we carried with Dr. Shantinath Ghosh has brought many vistas in front of us. So okay, we actually went ahead with the radiation radiation protection, radiation sensitization, and many of our neuroprotection work. So all actually centered with that Moringa oleifera. So this is the naringin. This is also derived from the that is Moringa oleifera, but it is also derived from the some lemon or the citrus fruit. And the ferulic acid is also there. Ferulic acid is also very strong component of the Moringa oleifera, as also from the rice bran. So that is the that ferulic acid that we have also, that we have many papers, many articles on the ferulic acid, naringin, and quercetin, beta sitosterol. So these are some of the evidence-based work. So I'm just keeping these things. Okay, so ferulic acid has given us a real mileage in for many of our autophagy work, and all these things has been that has been put forward. The ferulic acid has endeavored all these many of the cellular signaling routes for the autophagy. Also, it prevented many DNA damage and so many things. All right, so I'm just quickly. So this is with ferulic acid, and you see that this is the histopathological thing. This is the external morphological electron microscopic thing, and this is the alteration in the surface texture of the intestine. Okay, that is both tame, and the same scanning electron micrographs have been put forward over here with radiation and without in presence of some of the phytochemicals. So these are some of the evidence-based things. Okay, I have to really go fast with these things, and so this is just to showcase that what the nutrition and or the the phytochemicals can put forward. So I would like to acknowledge my teachers. For them, I am here. I can talk before you. All my great teachers, right from my school, right from my college, right from my universities, and obviously I must acknowledge my university administration, and obviously lots of research scholars, and my funding agencies. And at the end, I again thank you, the organizers, for inviting me. Okay, for this wonderful meeting. Thank you very much. So I now stop sharing, and if I don't know whether I
want to thank you, Shonjit, for this wonderful lecture. So just 1 hour before I told you that you have to give a lecture, and you saved me. You saved me.
Now it is not the question of saving. It is another. You can say it is my privilege that I could talk for this.
No, sir. It is our privilege that we were able to hear from you.
Actually, Anna, it was decided that he will give the first lecture in this pandemic session, and but I couldn't organize that lecture, and this helped me. This whole process helped me to organize it in this condition. Okay, thank you very much.
আর একটা জিনিস পুবালিদি, তুমি খুব রেগে যাবে, তাও মানে এত দুর্দান্ত একটা লেকচার শুনলাম, মানে সাবজেক্টের লোক না হলেও সব বুঝতে পারলাম, তাই জন্য আই জাস্ট ক্যানট কিপ ইট টু মাইসেলফ দ্যাট সেই বাংলা একটা কথা আছে যে ভগবান যা করে মঙ্গলের জন্য। আই নো দ্যাট ইউ উইল বি ভেরি অ্যাংরি। সো আমাদের ক্ষেত্রে কিন্তু এটা কিন্তু this was actually a blessing in disguise today, whatever happened, that this was an excellent thing, and it covered all the things. The motto, just think of the motto that
yes, Vartika and yes, Vartika, Poshan Vartika,
just mind blowing lecture, sir. Thank you so much.
Poshan Vartika and yoga. Today's was yoga day, and it covered also yoga, because in the mutation those slides he told about the yoga, the physical activity, how it changes the genetic makeup. Thank you very much, Shonjit.
Okay, and okay, so I hope that there is no questions. Is there any question?
Yes, sir. We have questions. Yes, there are many questions, sir.
Okay, so are people have the patience to take my questions? I am there.
Yes. There
Or
are
I think you
They
must be
Somam,
very
very
tired.
much eager.
Somam, just ask the questions. Sir.
Yes, sir. I will like to take the questions.
Please.
So the first question is, what may be the possible reason of high percentage of diabetes among those who were exposed to famine in late gestation as compared to early and mid gestation?
Okay, that is very good, wonderful question. Actually, that is a cellular component that I have not covered because I think it was a very mixed audience. Well, see, this is one of the epigenetics, as I mentioned. This is perhaps the role of the epigenetics, and the people they develop the type 2 diabetes very often. Those who were exposed to that famine at that point. So type 2 diabetes, it is not that autoimmune type diabetes like type 1 or something. So, and type 2 diabetes, it is the people are those who who are prone to in many occasions. This is in most of the many genes are concerned with that, like NRF2, like even the NF kappa B and the many of the inflammatory genes which actually are triggered. Even perhaps I very briefly I have shown you that there are many pathways of the autophagy. So these are also involved in the in very intricate way, where actually the entire mechanism is that insensitivity to insulin. Okay, so the people actually develop some kind of insulin insensitivity. So receptors for the insulins are not they cannot sense the insulin. That insulin receptors are there, but it cannot take that insulin and its further the signaling mechanism. So there are lots of signaling proteins. So people have identified later on, not in that study, but they identified later on. So there are many aspects, as I mentioned. There are some some autophagy mechanism where actually that modulated the receptors of the insulin in that way. So essentially, it is I would say to be very precise, it is a epigenetic mechanism. Okay, and that the calorie restriction and the micronutrient deficiency has triggered that phenomenon. So this is the one-line answer to her to his question.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Now the next question is, in food pattern evolution, what may be the possible reason that the starch percentage is gradually decreasing and fat percentage is increasing?
Oh, in that particular study?
Yes, or in general.
No, I didn't get the question. Is it related to that question, or I mean that particular
on that particular study?
Okay, so she is referring to that particular slide. I mean that particular study.
Yes, that might be, because yes, that is a very typical food pattern. In fact, you have to consider that that study was conducted in the Scandinavian region. Okay, and I don't know whether Professor Dr. Roy will cover that aspects. I think he might talk on some other aspects, but he has very fundamental studies in those regard. And in Scandinavian countries, where you have to.
Ranjit, he will be delivering a lecture 5th on 5th.
Tomorrow.
5th.
Sorry.
6th.
On 6th
September.
Okay. So the questions are that that since that is a Scandinavian countries, their fat intake was more, and it is very interesting. I cannot explain immediately that why the starch intake was less, because of the fact that overall there was less food. Okay, the scarcity of food. That's the hallmark of the famine. And however, since it was sort of kind of that is Scandinavian country, their milk products and all these things were available, so they could perhaps try to compensate to some extent with that fatty products. So that might be the actually I cannot explain I mean the particular food pattern in that particular group or in that study. Okay, but that might be the plausible explanation for it, that low
Okay,
starch
so
and high fat intake.
okay, so now next question, sir, since you were talking about the tools and techniques, so we have a question regarding that. Has CRISPR-Cas9 any role to play in nutrigenomics research, and if yes, what could be the possible applications?
Oh yes, a lot of. Actually, I just mentioned it, the some of the analytical aspects of it, but for the experimental approach, people have already started doing that. Say, for example, the CRISPR-Cas can be employed for these people already have tried with that the type 1 diabetes, the autoimmune disorder. So these are the some of the debilitating conditions that we people that starts at the juvenile stage. Say it starts around say 5 to 7 years of age, and people cannot do anything. So there are lots of the pancreatic damage, pancreatic beta cells are being destroyed, and what is called the neuropathy, retinopathy, and all these things starts degenerating. So now people have already started these CRISPR techniques in the mouse model and the rat models already. So people have some positive results. Not so immediately. I cannot say that it has reversed the way of type 1 diabetes and all. And with that technology, perhaps many of you know that it is very specific thing, but that definitely requires the some more validation with coming days. And that can, those particular type of, mRNA or, any particular gene can be replaced with that right gene. So anything which is really genetic, so we can, have some clues or have some answers. Yes, definitely we will have very good future.
Okay, sir.
CRISPR.
Okay. Now the next question is, how much is the efficacy of moringa leaves in lowering blood pressure?
Okay, so that actually, that can be, I think I cannot end the story today. So I think the organizer will be very angry with me. Okay, very briefly, I can say that Moringa oleifera has got some component, particularly the benzyl isothiocyanate components, which were responsible, which people have thought, reported much earlier when I started working on it. Actually, my project was mostly concentrated on that particular antihypertensive effect of that Moringa oleifera leaf, because I found that is one of the effective way of reducing the blood pressure. Simultaneously, while I was going to one of my old college, that is Hooghly Mohsin College, where I started teaching. So then during my train journey, I came to know that one people was saying that the train drivers, they take moringa leaf, either boiled or they take with some kind of fried with their with the rice. So in the meal. So I wondered. I mean, yes, we also sometimes we also took that in our diet, but not, it was not so staple kind of thing, vegetable in our diet. We then I wondered. I mean, why? So they thought that why train drivers, because they have to pass one exam to be on in a driver's seat. So every month or every twice a month they have to sit for that test. And they have to take this moringa leaf because to reduce their blood pressure. So this is one of the societal component of the of the ethnic evidence of our food. So I was really wondered. I really at that point of time I was thinking of that kind of project. Okay, so then immediately I correlated that thing and I conversed with that person. It was just a passerby. He was my co-passenger, and just came to know. And definitely it is there, some component are there which actually inhibit some of the that is why the blood pressure is there. What is the responsible what is the responsible factor for blood pressure? It is perhaps that some of the some of the elastic proteins. So with age, or those are with hypertension, they actually these elastase, those are nothing but the metalloproteases. They cleave these elastin proteins, okay, which maintains this flexibility of the blood pressure. So actually, if we have that more elastic blood pressure, blood vessels, so we can accommodate more blood, so our blood pressure will not rise. But with age, or those people who are suffering from the hypertension, or more with that S2 receptors that is happening in the pandemic, now it has become very popular. So they cannot, they have some kind of more metalloprotease activity which loses the elasticity of the blood vessel. Okay, so in that way, so we will have more blood pressure. We develop blood pressure. Okay, and this phytochemical or phytonutrient actually, prevent those metalloproteases. So they actually prevent the elastin protein degradation. So that is the key. That is the key for maintaining the blood pressure. So if we have nutritious food, if we have less, less calorie food, we can maintain our blood pressure very nice way, and with obviously with some physical activities. Okay, regular physical activities. So very nice question.
Okay, sir. So there are so many questions, and the next question is: can nutrigenomics be studied in silico?
Oh yes, why not? Why not? Yes, there are all there are lots of components. In fact, some of our, one of our collaborator has already started this in silico. In fact, Professor Pubali Dhar has already started the nutrigenomic study, and even some component of our group, some component has already started with some DNA damage thing. So that is now being sent for publication. Okay. So yes, definitely it is.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, which is more appropriate, holistic phytochemicals or the effect of a single polyphenol, like that? That means a synergistic effect or a particular.
Yes. This is from my side. And after so many years of research, what is your just one line answer? Is there any one line answer?
It is, you are questioning me, right?
Yes.
Well, that polyphenol, okay. Yes, holistic phytochemicals. I would say definitely yes, and but that requires some kind of validation. So I cannot say that yes, appropriate. We have to have certain component of the phytochemicals in appropriate amount. That these two things are very important, and definitely we we can keep our good health, good well-being, and even people say that many of the sages, they live longer with calorie restriction and with fruits and fruits mostly. So that we came to know from our grandma. Okay, from these are grandma stories.
So naringin, whether naringin is more effective or the total the Chosne extract, that is Chosne, which is more effective?
Well, I would say that is the extract, because these actually give more synergistic effect.
Yes.
Okay. Because many of the components we don't know. I mean, which one would be more effective? Because from our experience, we work both on rutin and quercetin. So quercetin is the aglycone and rutin is the glycone. That is it is the glycogen, the sugar conjugated component. And in some of our effects were more effective with the rutin, that is a glycoconjugated. But in some ways, when in vitro, quercetin was more or less more effective. However, I cannot give mileage to any particular thing for it.
Yes.
But
I also found that in Amrul which contains high amount of rutin, vitamin C, and quercetin. When rutin is separately given, separately used, and quercetin separately used, and in another group the holistic, the total extract is used, the total extract gives the more better result because it contains also many minor components which I haven't seen the effect. So I think most of the people who are doing, they are getting this, but the scientific world, but the journals, they only prefer specific components.
Right.
It is a very problem.
Right. Okay. Okay. So any further question? Yes,
one more question is there. Last question. I can see that in our daily diet, the amount of the consumed phytochemicals is significantly low than the effective dose of those active compound. How can we bridge the gap between the consumed dose and the prescribed dose?
Okay. So all right. This is a very tricky question, but anyway, the amount of the consumed phytochemicals is well, as I mentioned, as just from the previous discussion that Professor Dhar was mentioning, that it is a holistic way. You know that many of the components that actually that support the individual component of the food or the phytonutrient. Okay, so that might be the reason, and individually the prescribe any particular supplement that may not be so effective, as people were promoting zinc alone. So you have to take zinc, you have to take vitamin C alone. But I was very much skeptic about it, because I thought that, okay, why not multivitamin? So it is actually, we require all the vitamins all together. So better to have if you want to take some kind of supplement, yes, the multivitamin you take, not any particular vitamin or the micronutrient excess, and take what she mentioned, that is the holistic food. Take regular fruits, vegetables in a appropriate way. So it has been mentioned that 5 servings of fruit in your diet. So that is very healthy choice of your diet. So if one can maintain, at least the young adults, the teenagers, if they can maintain it, so I think that would be a more than a good message, healthy message. Okay, for the young people. Okay. So any other?
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure to be associated with you. Okay. So I wish all the best of your future endeavor.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we are very much delighted and spellbound by your exciting lecture into the world of natural phytochemicals with a lot of interesting facts. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Okay. So you are most welcome. Okay. All the best for your future, meetings of your that is, and I would hope that Home Science will organize more such lectures. Okay. Thank you very much once more. Okay, can I leave now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so with this, we have come to an end of our today's lecture sessions. Now, I will request Dr. Ritu Goswami, Assistant Director, National Institute of Public Cooperation and Child Development, Guwahati, to present her poster. The title is Festive Foods of the Karbi Tribes of Kamrup, Assam. Ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am there.
Yes,
I'm just starting my presentation. Just give me 1 minute.
Sure, ma'am.
So, respected all the dignitaries present over here. Can you all see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. This was my PhD study with regard to the Karbi tribes. I have studied the food habits as well as the nutritional status of the Karbi tribes, especially the women. And it was a very large study, but out of that, I have only selected the festive food of the Karbi tribes. My objectives was to identify the festive foods among the Karbi tribal population of Kamrup district of Assam and to assess its relation to physical well-being. And in my sample, I had 400 females of Karbi tribe in the age group of 15 to 49 years, and body mass index was also done with measuring height and weight. Focus group discussion was conducted in order to gather information which related to the festive foods. So usually the festive food preparations were very traditional and come down from generation are still prevalent among the Kabi tribe. The food habits and method of preparation are very, very simple, which helps to preserve the nutrients, which indirectly help to maintain good health and nutritional status. Here in this small paper, I just wanted to present two indispensable cuisines. Pork cooked with fig leaves. Usually it is the fig leaves. We never see that some dishes are prepared with the fig leaves. And another one is the fish prepared with the bamboo shoot. And these are relished by this tribe during entire festivals. Pork with fig leaves is the most special cuisine and is a part and parcel of their life. The method of preparation of Dimoru Appa, this is a traditional name they have given to the dish, is very simple. Pork is cooked with fig leaves, alkali that is given, garlic, ginger, chili, spices, salt, etc. added, and in the end, raw rice powder is added when the meat is cooked. The fig trees we see in these Karbi villages, they usually pray to this tree also. And in the whole Karbi village, there were a lot of fig trees, and we know the many antioxidant properties and therapeutic properties are there in the fig leaf. So I have only given one study by Shiddha et al. In 2010. The study mentioned that the antioxidant properties of fig reported that the leaves, bark, root, etc. of the fig tree are frequently used for the treatment of various illnesses. Leaves are rich in polyphenolic compounds, flavonoids that help in prevention of neurodegenerative and hepatic diseases. So this is the photograph of the pork with fig leaves, and the ingredients we used I have already mentioned, but this is rich in macronutrients because pork is there, then carbohydrate like cereals are also added, little bit of fat is also there, and micronutrients, it is iron, calcium, phosphorus, vitamin B and C are also there in this dish. Second was the fish with bamboo soup. It is the traditional name is Hanthor of Mas. Their special cuisine is sour in nature, which is prepared with bamboo shoot and oil. Usually the Karbi population, they are the tribal population, they do not have so much liking for the oil, but in this recipe, oil is used and bamboo shoot is also used, which is the fish is first fried in the oil, then the bamboo shoot, chili, garlic, all these ingredients are given. Water is added, and when it starts boiling, the fresh fish is put and cooked till the fish becomes soft. Before finishing, again, this is a tradition that raw rice powder, salt, and a spice mixture containing 12 indigenous spices. The smell, the flavor comes in very nicely because it has cumin seeds, coriander seeds, cinnamon, clove, cardamom, black pepper, onion seeds, chili, fenugreek, and lot of coriander leaves and coriander seeds are also given to this recipe. So this is also the photograph of the fish with bamboo shoot, and the ingredients I have already mentioned. This is also rich in macronutrients, protein, fat, micronutrients, iron, calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin C. So in conclusion, I would like to say that these dishes, these are very traditional, and when I check the body mass index here, I would like to mention that there were very less undernutrition among the adolescent population as well as the adult population. Hence, the study concluded that the festive indigenous cuisines included during festivals as well as in the regular dietary of the Kabi tribal population is an important factor in keeping the female Kabi population physically healthy with a low prevalence of undernutrition. In comparison to other tribal groups, usually in India, there are many studies where it is mentioned that the tribal population has a lot of undernutrition. The undernutrition percentage is very high. But in comparison, we have seen that the Karbi tribe of Kamrun district, they were very healthy because of this inclusion of the traditional disease. So this is in brief. I have presented my slides because only 5 minutes time I have got. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present my paper. Thank you so much. Over to you, Soman Datta. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this presentation. As we know that this year, Ministry of Women and Child Development, they have focused on traditional foods and festive foods for their activity schedule of NNM. So such kind of studies are really very essential and important. So thank you, ma'am. Now I will request Purba Chattopadhyay, ma'am, to for the concluding remarks. Ma'am.
The day 3, it comes to an end, and it was a very interesting day. We were very, as organizers, we were very apprehensive as for how it will go. But we are so fortunate enough to have such actually a notice. They could just present such kind of a brilliant kind of a paper containing so much of information and new things in it. And I wholeheartedly thank all our poster presenters and the participants for making this webinar a success. So we again leave today to again join tomorrow. And what would be the time, Shomam, tomorrow? We will be joining at 3.
Yes, ma'am. 3, I think. Bipsha, can you please confirm once again?
না কালকে 3:30
3:30,
Okay, we will be joining by
Okay, please inform regarding please once inform regarding the feedback forms.
Yes, and,
Telegram.
Yes, the feedback form. Yes, the feedback form has been given, and it was our humble request on the part of this department and the organizers. That is, when you are submitting the feedback form, we are actually getting it. So no need to again message it in the Telegram group. Actually, what is happening, the important messages, they are getting just inside the so many of submitted like that. It's actually jamming the entire Telegram thing. So please post the messages. We are always there to help you if you have any problems which are otherwise very, very necessary. And restrain yourself from putting such messages like feedback form submitted or good morning, good afternoon, like that. So I earnestly request for your cooperation to make this webinar a grand success. Thank you all once again. So we will meet tomorrow. The flyer will again be shared in the Telegram group as well at 3:30 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.